Okay, so we're recording now.
All right, yeah, bonus episode possibly of the Poor Rikes, and so this is us reacting to the videos that our realtor sent us about like what it takes to buy a house and stuff like that. So we're gonna watch it together. I've already watched a few of the videos before I got overwhelmed, so we're gonna start from the beginning. And the reason this may be a bonus episode is we haven't asked for permission yet, although these are public on YouTube, so it'll
Mhm.
probably be fine. Also, I'm not sure if we're going to have a lot to say because the videos are pretty simple.
Well, the interesting thing that I liked about this, so I kind of wanted to share this because we have never bought a home before.
Yeah.
We've never moved out on our own before. Our mom was always the one that took care of everything whenever we
Yeah.
moved
We've
and
never,
stuff.
neither of us has ever chosen a place to
She
live
did the
and then gone to live
planning,
there. Yeah.
everything that it took to do the moving. So yeah, so this is definitely not something we know what we're doing. It's pretty tricky, and we're learning a lot already. We've had to go through a bunch of crap, so I thought that might be interesting for anybody that's looking to move and never did was in the same situation as us, you know. And also, I don't remember how you had found out. I think Robin was the one that told you and was like, "You should just get a home or whatever," right?
Yeah. So I was looking, well, we needed a co-signer for the apartment. And
Hadn't
Robin,
she told you about getting a house before that though?
no,
Oh, I
no.
thought you talked about it before because she's moved a few times to different houses.
Well, this was her first house that she bought in
Oh, but
March.
she's moved. Okay, I thought she bought other houses before.
Her,
No,
her,
okay.
a lot of her family's in real estate and her parents
Mm.
have bought multiple houses, bought and
Okay.
sold. Um, So when I sent her the thing and was like, "We need a cosigner," she texted me back and she was like, "Yeah, no problem, but like also you might want to look into buying a house because the mortgage could be $300 or $400 instead of whatever you're going to be paying
Like
for an
we're
apartment."
our and it just doesn't. It's like so. This was because I remember when you first told me, I was like, this that just sounds ridiculous. Sounds way too good to be
Yeah.
true. It sounds like a lie. It sounds like bull crap. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Because our rent here is 1,800, and that's cheap for where we live. Like the minimum is 2K normally,
Yeah.
and they can push. I've seen them. I've looked. They're
Oh yeah.
2,500 or 3 grand and
He
stuff.
could
Like
probably get 24 for this, no problem.
easily, yeah. Even though it's a tiny little
It's like
place.
a 500 square foot, 600 tops.
Yeah. So, and we're looking into going to a home and paying a mortgage of less than half of that. You know,
Yeah.
but of course we have additional costs of any kind of
Repair,
anything that happens to the house and stuff.
maintenance,
Yeah.
all that shit.
Yeah, so that is different. That's extra bills on that side. But I mean, if the basically it's a mortgage, I consider it the same as the rent,
Mm-hmm.
because that's what it is. You're still paying monthly to have the place, whatever. But if the rent goes to 300 or 400 even compared to 1,000, we've already made up the money there for any
Yeah.
kind of repairs that we need and stuff. Like
Yeah, and Allison, no, Amanda. Amanda estimated that we'd probably end up paying about $500 a month wherever we land.
really,
Yeah, including taxes and everything.
including taxes
Mm-hmm.
and HOA.
Mm-hmm. And,
Huh.
and most of the places, most of the houses don't have HOAs,
Hmm.
just the condos do.
Okay, that kind of
Yeah.
makes sense because it kind of makes sense. I imagine in like a suburban specific community there'd be an HOA or something.
Generally, those are like gated
Yeah,
communities,
yeah.
like for the rich people,
Hmm.
and the areas we're looking at are not. I
They're not
think
gated
I don't
communities.
think that Peoria really has an upper class. I think it's middle class and
Hmm.
lower.
Okay.
So there's not a lot of HOAs. There's not a lot of people deciding what your lawn should look like or how tall your fence can
You
be.
know what's weird? What I thought was very weird is this kind of made me so mad too. I was thinking, I was like, because I'm looking at these homes that we're browsing, and they all look amazing,
Yeah.
and the neighborhoods look really nice too. They look really nice.
That the houses next to them are well kept. Because when I was looking for cheap houses a couple years ago in Fort Wayne, that was where I was looking at Fort Wayne, Indiana. The cheaper houses where they had boarded up windows, the neighbors had boarded up windows. It was because of the foreclosures in 2008.
Mm.
And that was the fallout from that, which is that people had to leave their houses and they were pissed.
Mm.
So they'd either trash the house before they left, or people would break in and loot the house and trash the house after they left. So So those houses are big fixer-uppers because some of them don't even have floors
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
like people were just mad, like
Mhm.
because it's not fair. Like what
No, it's
happened to
not
them
fair at
isn't
all.
fair. And when things are unfair, you get mad and sometimes you take that out
Oh, I would.
inappropriately on your
Sounds
floors.
like something I would do.
So yeah, you used to just punch the wall.
Well, that wasn't because I was trying to hurt the house.
Imagine if you'd paid thousands of dollars into a house and then just got kicked out because you couldn't pay 1 month.
Yeah.
Like, how pissed would you be then,
I'd probably murder somebody.
Yeah.
I'd go, yeah. Well, I'd
So,
want to anyways.
yeah. Or at least burn the place down. But you can't. But
Right.
you can
Yeah.
you can crowbar the floors up
Just pretend somebody else burnt it
and
down.
tear all the cabinets doors off the cabinets.
So, but anyways, we I don't know. I think we had thought of it maybe at some point, but just the idea of I don't know why we never really looked into a home before.
Well, I never believed that the mortgage was gonna be less than rent. And also, the nice thing about renting is that if there is a huge structural problem, like if there was something wrong with the foundation, Burge would be paying to fix it.
Hmm.
If we're living in a house, we either have to figure out how to fix it or sell it to some sucker.
Or somebody else that's willing to fix it up.
Yes,
Right.
exactly. But meaning that it would take money off of the selling price, meaning whatever you're paying for the house, you're selling it for way less than that.
Mm.
So, I mean, but that's okay. Like on our thing, we're looking at like a mortgage for 30 years, which is such a long
We'll
time.
be dead.
But yeah, but what that means is that like you're only paying a couple $100 a month. But if we ever wanted to move, then we could like take the sale from that house and apply it to the new house. Um, but whew, what up? I don't know. I prefer looking at the like $30,000 houses instead of the $50,000 houses.
Well, I do too, and some of them are just as nice.
Oh, by the way, I don't think did we record? No, we haven't recorded since we found out we were pre-approved for a loan up to 50,000.
Pre-qualified.
Pre-qualified, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think there's a difference between
I
pre-qualified and
think it means the
pre-approved.
same thing.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that technically there's probably
I think
some.
pre-approved is credit cards.
Yeah.
Pre-qualified is houses.
I thought that was weird because I thought about it and I was like, hmm. But anyways, yeah. So this wouldn't be possible without a lender, right?
Yes.
We wouldn't even be doing this without a
Oh
lender.
no. And
Yeah.
Amanda sent us the names of two lenders. One just was like no right away.
Which I was not surprised at all about. I was
And
actually surprised someone said yes.
oh, I know. Like we had to wait a couple of days for Stacy to go over our paperwork, and I guess she had just forgotten to reply. So we were
Mm.
just sweating it out over the week. Oh, I was like, oh, we're just gonna be stuck here. We have no other options. We can't ever, own or whatever. And then I wrote back to her on Monday, and I was like, hey, do you got everything you need? And she was
Well,
like,
I
oh
don't
yeah,
even.
sorry, you got fifty thousand
Yeah.
dollars. You're pre-qualified for
I
$50,000.
don't even care about actually owning a home or anything. I just want to move somewhere affordable, and
Yes.
and
Well,
if,
I
if
want
the
to.
home is a part of that, then that's awesome.
Yeah. Well, I want to move somewhere affordable where we have the amenities that we need. So that would
Yeah.
be Wi-Fi, laundry, and um, especially in Illinois because it gets snowy in the winters. Central heating is a must.
Did you look at any of those addresses I sent you?
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, I had already rated some of them, so anything
Mm.
that was above 50,000, I just declined. Or
That's dumb.
why?
Because she said we could go up to 60K.
No, she said she was going to look for 60K houses just in case some of the prices dropped.
Oh, okay.
Because if it's been on the market
I
longer, the
thought.
prices can
Then
drop.
I
So we can keep an
misunderstood
eye
you.
on those, but I don't think that they're gonna.
So we're looking for up to 50K then.
Yeah.
Okay. Where most of the ones I sent you 60K or whatever.
Some no, just a couple of them.
Okay.
Yeah, we agree on a couple of the houses. So we can take a look at those together, and well, we'll look at all of them together.
Yeah.
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 But I also like favorited some of the ones that I thought would work best because they already have central air,
Hmm.
central heating. A lot of them already have the appliances. Some of them don't. The
Hmm.
cheaper ones generally don't.
Yeah.
So that's kind
Yeah.
of the trade off.
Hmm.
But I like the idea of only getting like a $30,000 house, $35,000 house because the idea of paying that off doesn't seem so enormous to me.
Well, I don't. I again. I just treat it like it's a rental in my
I
mind.
know you are. That's not how I'm thinking about
Because
it. I mean, it
it,
kind
it
of
it
is,
is, yeah.
because 35,000 is still a
You're
lot.
still paying a monthly thing, and if we're and the reason I think that is because if we're even as a mortgage, we're paying that much less. I mean, that seems kind of miraculous, you know.
Yeah,
I like it's no wonder so many people don't realize how hard it is for others to get by because they're living in a place that's insanely expensive.
yeah,
And we didn't choose to come here and live in an expensive place and be
no,
completely screwed our whole lives. Like
yeah.
we ended up in this position just cuz, right? You know, like
Well, and honestly, this is the best we can do where we live because a mortgage would a mortgage here
oh
for,
yeah.
I mean, the cheapest house you can get in LA is like $200,000.
Mm,
So there's no fucking way with our
yeah.
income we would
Yeah.
qualify
So
for
we
that.
have to move if no matter what. I mean, like kind of the biggest reason we started with apartments or whatever, and we were still thinking out of state even when we were looking for apartments
Yeah,
because
because the rent is
it's
cheaper.
too expensive to live here. It's
Yeah.
insane.
Renz was like, he's like, you should find places that are covered by Section 8 here in LA. Just move somewhere cheaper. And then, like, it's not. This is what it costs to live here.
Mm,
He doesn't understand because it's been so long since he moved. He's lived in that apartment since 1990, 1992, 1993.
I don't, you know, it still trips me out because the way he talks about homeless people, I'm like, he just, it's like he does not remember what it was like and how he magically wasn't homeless anymore, you
Yeah.
know? Like, he acts like, oh, if they really wanted to, they'd stop being homeless. And
Yeah, homelessness is a force. It's a matter of will, not
yeah,
a,
that's
a
basically what
lack
he's
of.
telling me. Yeah.
Yeah, and here's the thing too about Renz is that he had rich parents, not rich, but like rich to our standards, so
Oh,
middle
yeah.
class. He had middle class parents who owned a couple of
And to us,
businesses.
middle class
They
is a billionaire,
they
basically. In
owned multiple
comparison, that's
homes.
crazy.
Like
Yeah.
they they could help him if he needed it. He wasn't going to go and ask his parents because he was young
Well,
and
but
you
what I
know
don't get is why he just thinks it's so easy for homeless people to not be homeless. He'll always say like,
because
"Oh, there's
he
programs." It's like, and they just don't want to be on those programs because you can't drink alcohol or whatever. And I'm just like, this is your answer. Like,
some people have a mentality of everybody's situation is like mine. And he doesn't have the imagination to understand.
but he did. I mean, we talked about this before. The only reason he stopped being homeless was because of mom.
Yeah, well,
And what
Antonio,
mom did.
yeah, Antonio
Yeah.
Vini.
Mom going out of
And,
her way to find whatever she could.
but there's a difference between having no options and not taking the options that you have, which he's
Mm.
like, they can choose anytime. He could have chosen any time to go to his parents and be like, I need your
Oh,
help.
I see.
I'm living in my car. And they would have helped him, but he would have been humiliated or whatever,
And it's not like mom just had this insta solution thing.
No, she needed her kids back.
And well, no, but I mean, she struggled.
Yeah.
She didn't just all of a sudden, oh look, I have a place to live now.
Yeah, and it wasn't like her first option or goal
Yeah.
was to go find an old landlord and demand a house.
Yeah.
You know?
That's my point.
You
Yeah.
know, she didn't have the support system that Renz did. So it creates a different mentality.
Like
It's like us. We don't have
it reminds me,
yeah.
you were the one that pointed out to me. I didn't think of it because I remember when we asked family for help with moving. Just we were just talking about it. We weren't even ready for it. We're like, look, we want to move. We need help. We're gonna need money for moving costs and stuff. You know.
Yeah, and not even like rent, just moving costs.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
moving costs alone. Yes,
Yeah.
not first month, last month, whatever. Just moving costs alone. And
Because we could afford to move, we just couldn't afford to take our stuff with us.
I remember when I was thinking about asking them, I was like, nobody's gonna help us. We don't even know these people. And so when we asked them at the park that day, when they went silent, like you had mentioned, it didn't even hit me at all. I was like, that's exactly kind of better than what I expected. I was expecting to be like, "But who the fuck do you think you are asking us for help? We don't know you, you idiots. You know what?
Yeah.
How dare you ask us for help with money and stuff?" That's my expectations.
Wow.
So when they were silent, I was like, "Oh, that's better than I thought." And I never really gave it much thought because I was like, I expected, you know, like what nothing.
For me, a no would have been better than dead silence, honestly. Like, I mean, and I didn't expect them to be abusive, but I just thought, like, no, we can't do that. Sorry. You
Yeah,
know, like,
yeah.
what, like, just, or let us think about it, or how much do you need, or we can pull our, okay, $2,000 to move, which is what we were asking for at the
Mm-hmm,
time,
mm-hmm.
for the number of people who were there
Yeah,
would have been a couple $100s per person,
yeah.
which, considering they had just all inherited what 10, 20 grand from grandpa dying.
I did not even know how much they got.
Yeah.
I don't really care.
Um
They
was
have their
not,
bills and all that as well, of
yeah, but
course.
they
You
also
know.
have better paying jobs. They can also afford vacations.
Mm.
They can also, they have nice cars, and all that stuff adds up. So it's not like they have a ton of money left over. But when they want to call us family and then not act like family, that doesn't make me feel like they're family.
Well, I
Because here's
don't
the
know.
thing, we're not trying to call them family.
We don't
We're not
know
trying to
them.
call them at
I
all.
don't blame them for not jumping on helping us move or anything. I don't blame them for that. It's
For
just
me, it's not
kind of
even in the
funny.
moment. It's like not one of them reached out afterwards, except for Carlene.
Darlene,
and
well, she said to reach out to her,
yeah,
when we had any new information or
yeah.
whatever.
And then she mentioned in like the Christmas and birthday letters, just let us know if you need anything, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But, that's not coming from Kenny. That's not coming from, you know,
Well, they're busy people. I'm just giving them the benefit of the doubt.
yeah, you're devil's
I don't
advocating
care.
them. It's all
Yeah,
right. It's fine. I'm not
I
saying
don't
that
hate them for it or
I'm not saying they're
anything.
bad people. I'm just saying they're not family.
Well, yeah, and that's why I like it. That's why I had my expectations. Why I was not surprised at all that there was no
Yeah.
like, oh sure, yeah, let's go. Let's get you guys into a place you can afford and whatever.
But it's the lip service that we get, which is, oh, we love you, let's hug you when we see you, we should stay in touch, blah blah blah, and then if we actually need something, it's dead silence. It's not even no, it's just dead
I think
silence.
if it was something easier and more like if we had a real plan and 'cause, like again, I think
Yes.
whatever, we were just asking for help because we didn't know, we had nothing. We thought we were gonna go homeless.
Yeah.
That's what we thought, and we still thought that even after that for a long,
But again, like Sammy didn't say anything in the moment, but when he was driving us home, he was like, whatever I have is yours,
Mm.
basically. Which he would be the last person I would ask because he's the person who has the least. But that just says something about his character and how he feels about us being family. The fact that he was willing to give whatever he had. Which, by the way, would rather fucking slit my own wrists than take from somebody 10 years younger than me who has less than, or not even, like, not less than what we do, but, like, not, the same or whatever.
Oh, so the reason I thought about that and was kind of recapped or went over it again is because I was talking to Renzi about that too, and he said the same thing. He's like, well, they're strangers,
Yeah.
you don't even know them, and I was like, I know, and but his argument was this cracked me up. He's like, what about GoFundMe? Have you heard of GoFundMe? Which
Oh my
we've talked about for
God.
different things many times, and I'm like, so what you're telling me is that you think it makes more sense to go on the internet and ask complete strangers over the internet for help to move than it does to ask relatives, like blood relatives, to help
Hmm.
them move. And then he, of course, and no matter what we ever try, I've noticed this about him. Whenever we talk about anything, he contradicts himself
Hmm.
constantly. There's always some other fucking excuse of bullshit that just spits out of his mouth, and I'm just like, and that was the day where I really like, because every time he had an answer for me, I was like, all right, fine, then let me say something. And I don't usually do that, like not all the time, but this time I was like, all right, well, let's go with what you're saying right now. It's exactly like that, and he just always some other nonsense that's back and forth with his own argument.
Oh yeah, so it's ask your family if they say no. Ask strangers if they say no. Just keep praying, man. Just keep praying. That's all you got to keep doing. Just keep praying.
Well, he didn't say that, but no, I just thought it was really ridiculous that his answer to, oh, our family are strangers, so we shouldn't expect them to help us, but go on the internet and go fund me, you know.
Which we tried. You tried.
No, I never actually set it up.
Oh, I thought you said we got a couple $100s from that.
No, that was not
Oh,
GoFundMe. that was just Twitch streaming and me asking for. I had a
Oh,
donation goal, and I took it down. I knew it wasn't gonna
you
go
have
anywhere.
friends that are better than our family.
Internet friends that I met on the internet that are closer than, yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't blame her. That was mom's fault, you know.
It wasn't mom's fault. There was reasons why
Well,
she
no,
wasn't close to them in the first
yeah,
place.
no, I like I said, we talked about that before. So it's like, oh, now I understand why she separated us. I don't hate them though, or anything, and I do feel love for them. But I mean, there are times where I'm just like, oh, yep, nope, I understand why mom kept us away from her. It's pretty funny. But no, like it's a weird thing. It's kind of like Renzi. He's the same way. Where like, I like the dude, but I also hate him. I'm like, ugh.
Um, yeah. I was thinking if he hadn't gotten sick, we probably never would have spoken to him again after mom died.
Probably, yeah, yeah, it's true. I mean, we didn't invite him over, as far as I can remember, really,
I did. Oh, you
to
mean
visit like every
after he
week
got
or
sick?
whatever.
Yeah, not before he got sick. I mean, I think we did. Like, we
I don't
probably would have seen him
remember.
every 6 to 8 months
Mm,
outside
yeah,
of like, but we wouldn't have had him over here every Monday.
yeah.
Which I'm glad he comes over every
Mm,
Monday, but it is interesting
yeah.
that that's the reason why.
It's a very weird, and that's why I don't even know how to properly describe, having this love and hate for someone, because it's weird. It doesn't make any sense. It's like you love parts of them and hate other parts of them.
Yeah, I mean that's loving anybody.
Well, no, I don't hate everybody I love. But I don't hate parts of everybody I love. Other people, whatever. Even if I get an argument with them, I don't feel the same way.
I think that having a conversation with friends can be very lonely.
Hmm. Well, I'm telling you, it's like he contradicts himself. Like he,
He just has to be right. He doesn't have to.
yeah, whatever he can say that he thinks sounds right, even if he just said the opposite just
Yeah,
before.
he's like,
So anyways, no, so I told him, also in that same conversation, I said, we went to we had three people we went to that were friends. You had met yours at the comedy club, right,
mm-hmm,
Robin? And I said, and the two friends that I asked, I met over the internet. They're wonderful, amazing people.
mm-hmm,
And that was for the co-signing thing.
mm-hmm.
And the first, I can't remember who I asked first, because I asked them both at the same time.
Yeah.
But um, one of my friends said, "Oh man, I wish I could, if it was like a year or two ago." I can't remember exactly how to put it. I think it was like a couple of years. He said, "If you had asked me a couple year or two ago, then I could have, but I can't now." And then my other friend was like, I don't know, but let me look into it. He
Mm-hmm,
had he had to check stuff, and by the time he hadn't even gotten word, I told him that we
mm-hmm.
that your friend said yeah, and he said I haven't heard back yet.
No,
know.
that's funny.
Yeah. So.
What's funny because like I wasn't counting on either of your dudes to come through because they just didn't sound sure that they could help. So I was already thinking, what do I do when if Robin
If
says
Robin says
no?
no,
You
yeah.
know, which when I initially asked her, I was like, "There's no way she'll say no." And then the longer it took for her to reply to me,
Mm,
the more I was like, "Oh, I
you get
shouldn't have asked. This has
discouraged.
ruined our friendship."
Mm,
Like, and then I texted her and I was like, "I'm just taking this off the table. Like, don't even worry about it, etc." And she was like, "I'm so sorry. I thought I answered you already. Of course I'm gonna co-sign."
that's so. I remember. I don't. I just popped up in my head. I remember. You had talked about the donation goal, which you thought was a GoFundMe. Um, but I remember I went to a few of my friends who sent me the most money, and I offered them back their money. I couldn't even remember how much they gave me. I
Hmm.
could have looked it up if I went in and looked it
Yeah.
up. But I offered it back to them, and I said, this just isn't gonna happen.
Yeah.
you know. Um, and they were like, no, it's cool, whatever. But I felt so horrible and stupid.
I
Even
mean,
even when I first started it, like I was sure it wouldn't make it. But I had to try though. I was like, fuck it, I have to at least ask.
yeah.
But then,
I think at
I
that
gotta.
point probably like that wasn't even so whatever it did get spent on,
I don't. Well, I
it
mean,
wasn't fun shit. It was
it
like food,
wasn't
you
blown.
know.
I didn't just go like haha, I got all this extra money. And like, no, not at
Yeah,
all.
it wasn't
Yeah.
cocaine and hookers. Like it was definitely like food or
Food bills.
electricity or
Yeah, something.
whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, the where we're at right now, the only so I can't remember if we talked about this in our previous because we did.
Mhm.
Remember we did a 30-minute episode or whatever. It was really short and
Yeah.
quick, and then we did another one. And I don't. How much did we talk about? Like we tried saving before, and
Oh yeah. We talked
okay,
about all
all
that.
right. I can't remember. I haven't. Oh yeah, I have to actually listen to those this week so I can upload them. Anyways, so I wanted to talk about that a little bit before we get into these videos, just because have a conversation about what's going on and that kind of a thing. So yeah, so we have 10 videos here that we're gonna watch, and these were recommended by our realtor.
These are our real, like, I think that's
These are
her.
her. This is her
That's either
actual
her or her
video.
partner.
Jessica Ball team.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think that's probably Jessica, but it could be Amanda. I'm not sure.
Um. Yeah. So this is tips. This what did she? How did she describe it to you? Just tips on what to expect as your new
The
homeowner or
home
whatever.
zone buyer's tips. Get the home you want.
So these are fairly short videos, but overall, with all 10 videos, about 20 minutes. Well, about half an hour it looks. Um,
Yeah.
so we're we're planning to go over these right now,
Mm-hmm.
and in between videos, if we have any thoughts, we'll either stop after a video or we just continue
Yeah.
if we don't have any thoughts to go over on such and such.
Yeah. I mean, the first video is 1 minute, so or 2 minutes.
2 minutes, yeah.
So I don't know if we're gonna have a lot to say about that. It's basically like, hi, this is who I am, and this is what you want, and here we go.
So right now you're joining us on our adventure of again for me for me and my sister have two different mentalities towards this. Me, I just want to move somewhere cheaper and affordable. I
Mm-hmm.
don't care if we're actually owning a home, but that's the new plan because it's if owning a home is actually ends up being cheaper than renting an apartment
Mm-hmm.
continuously, then yeah, hell's yeah, like let's go.
Yeah, especially since the houses are nicer than the apartments we're
Yes. Yes.
living
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a trip. All right, so you ready to start this
in.
one? All
Yeah.
right, we'll be muted during these, so here we go. We're starting.
All right, here we go. Quick buyer tip number one. The first thing is getting your ducks in a row, and that starts with picking an agent. Pick one that you want to work with through the entire process. And once you pick that agent, get on a plan of action with that agent. And getting on a plan with your agent is really important, and here's why. Time is of the essence, and that's actually language that you'll find in the sales contract. It's actually written in there. What does that mean? If you Google it, you'll come across Wikipedia, and it says the need for timely completion. And I felt that that was a really great explanation because once we write an offer and it's signed by a seller and accepted, that kicks off a very specific time frame and timeline that we must follow. So many days for this, hours for this. And there are things that you have to do before you write an offer and things that you have to do very quickly right after you write an offer to make sure that we stay within those time frames, which is for your benefit to stay within those time frames. It's so that we can ensure the proper process with the purchase. And if you do these next steps, it'll put you in a position to have these things done before we even write an offer, which gets you into a best position for your offer to win because you won't be scrambling. You won't miss out on an offer because you're waiting to get some of this stuff done because some of it takes just a little bit of time and preparation, and you won't be stressed out because you'll have all your ducks in a row, things accomplished and ready to go. And that's part of getting on a plan of action with your agent. So choose your agent, get on a plan, because your time frame and timeline for getting things done may be very different from the next person. It all depends on what you're looking for, how you're going to go about it, and what time frame you're on, and what you're really doing and who's all involved in the process. So pick an agent, get on the plan.
Okay, and something that we can do too is we can look at so Amanda sent us the paperwork basically
The
for when you're buying a house.
documentation, yeah.
And one of those is a timeline. So if you want, we can take a look at that.
Okay, cool. So I had to give me a couple, but one, the timeline. I understand it is important because we still have to pack. You know,
Oh, but they're not even talking about us
yeah,
packing.
that's
Like
what
that's not
yeah,
even on the list.
it's a trip. That's what I mean. Is like, it's that's where it kind of I can understand being overwhelming just that alone, like knowing like once you get going, but it makes a lot of sense too. I mean, anyways, What was it? You had just said something. What was it you just said? Oh, the documentation thing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So who exactly is an agent then?
So they're both agents, but we're working with Amanda.
So is agent like another word of realtor or something?
Realtor, yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. I was like, wait, now do we need another fucking person that we
I
have to go
think
to?
it's like real estate agent. You've heard that before, right?
Oh, yeah, okay. All right. So are you ready for the next one, or did you have another thought on that?
No, did you want to look at the timeline and see how close we are?
Not right this second.
Okay.
No, I want to go through the videos.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't want to. I mean, would you rather go?
I already looked at it, so we've already done several things on the list. So that's,
Really?
yeah.
Now I kind of
It's
want
a
to
very
look at
simple
it.
timeline. It's very simple.
Oh fuck! What the hell? All right, we'll just continue. Yeah,
Okay.
I don't know what's going on with Outlook. It's been acting. Well, our internet's been acting really weird. Oh, we'll go to the next video.
Okay.
All right, here we go. This one is okay, whatever. This is getting pre-approved and mortgage lenders, which is what we've gone through.
Mm-hmm.
That's been very interesting. Was not expecting this stuff to go the way it has. So,
Mm-hmm.
but it's fortunately we're going through it so far. Really hope it works out. All right, here we go.
All right, buyer tip number 2, and this one's going to be a long one. I'm going to throw a lot at you, but we're going to keep it really short and sweet. So this one is talking to your lender and get pre-approved. So important. So there are multiple things that we need to know before we even write an offer, because when we submit an offer, there is a 2-page financing amendment if you're getting a loan that we have to submit with the offer, and there's a lot of information we have to fill out on that form. So we have to have it prior to writing that offer, because if we're trying to get it while we're writing the offer, you could be missing out on the house of your dreams if someone else has already submitted their offer with all that information on there. So it's 100% something we can figure out in advance, so let's do that. So here's the things that we're going to need to know and talk to your lender about. Here's the discussions you need to have. 1, what amount you're qualified for. This could be a range. This is also what you're comfortable paying with as far as a monthly payment. And the reason being is usually with a monthly payment, you've got your mortgage and interest, your homeowner's insurance, and your taxes all together, your real estate taxes on the house. They lump that together in one monthly payment. So depending on what the taxes are for that property can really make or break your affordability with the house. So we need to know really what that monthly payment range looks like, so we can take that into consideration when we're looking at houses, making sure that we're looking at houses that have that the real estate taxes appropriate for what you can afford as well. The next thing is going to be your type of loan. So there's conventional, VA, FHA, USDA. Some sellers can only accept offers with certain types of financing for their property. And we can dig deeper into that and what that means. But basically, I don't want you to fall in love with a property that you have a loan, that you qualify for a loan where the seller can't accept that type of loan. So we need to know in advance what type.
Okay.
Do we know that?
Yes. So when we were filling out the loan request, they were asking what type of loan do you want. So we filled out for a conventional loan.
What's that mean?
It's like conventional versus FHA versus, I don't remember, but I looked it up and Googled it, and conventional was the one that would work for us. It's I think it's higher interest, but it's longer. So it's like you can go up to 30 years. And I've been looking at the houses. I've been looking at the types of loans they take, and most of them take conventional. Some of them take FHA, so it's actually harder to get an FHA house than a conventional. Conventional seems to be pretty standard, because they either say cash or conventional, generally speaking, on most of the houses we've been looking at.
That's what I was going to say, because that's something I wouldn't mind knowing as well, because we haven't gone over these together yet, most of them. And because we're on different schedules.
Well,
but I didn't know.
I got excited and then I crashed for 2 days.
I didn't know that was something to look for as well, because if I look in the descriptions of the houses that I like or whatever that we're shopping through, and if I see that they don't take conventional like loan or whatever, then I could skip it instead of thinking that, hey, look, we could do this one or whatever.
It doesn't look like she added anything to our potential list that doesn't take a conventional loan.
So that's part of her filter thing or whatever.
But also, like, because I was looking on realtor.com while I was waiting for her to get the list together, and they all say either conventional or cash. Some of them say FHA.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. And then the first things she said in this, that was a question that I've had for ever since we first started talking about this, was how do we pay for everything? And they say it's all bundled together.
Yeah, that was a question I had too. Yeah.
So that's awesome.
So this is the thing about like the difference between the shared like listings that Amanda set up for us and Realtor.com, as Realtor.com will give you a more accurate with taxes, mortgage plus taxes.
I wonder why her thing
estimate.
doesn't do the same thing though. It's
I
really weird.
think she said that that it's simplified in her back end or in that system
Oh,
because otherwise it's just a lot of overwhelming information.
okay.
So
It's still weird though, because you would still want to know how much you're gonna have to spend per month, you know.
yeah, I don't know. I think it for a first time home buyer, yes, but for somebody who's done it before, it's not quite as necessary because
You
you
already
kind of
know what
already
you're
know.
doing.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Let's continue. This is the same video. We just wanted to stop there because that was like, two good points on that.
Yeah.
Really like those. All right.
Type of loan you can qualify for, so then we know what houses we can go look at and write offers on. The next thing is, are you applying for any financial grants or assistance programs? Because that is also something we need to indicate on the financing amendment. That kind of goes.
I was curious about this one
Yes.
because
So Stacy, I believe we applied for a $5,000 grant, meaning that the loan that we're taking out is actually going to be $45,000. So that's what we have to pay back as opposed to $50,000. So whatever our house ends up being, it's $5,000 less for us to pay off.
interesting. What I was thinking also, because they say programs and whatever, I don't know, but we could still maybe look into HUD.
Yeah, the HUD buildings are not okay. So here's the
Oh
thing.
yeah,
I mentioned to Amanda that
Mhm.
we're already on HUD. We can
Yeah.
probably whatever. And then I said that to say
Maybe
Stacy
transfer
too.
or
So
whatever. Yeah.
they're both already aware
Okay.
that in Stacy's specialty is getting home grants for home buyers. So I'm sure that whatever we got from her is already the best that she
Well,
could do for us.
the only reason I was, because I know, I mean, we've wanted to get off of that for a long time. We want to be able to afford a place without having to then also have them, whatever, because
Yeah.
things are different with that system. It's helpful, but we want to get off of it.
Yeah.
And because we want to be able to afford living without needing it and that kind of a thing.
It's not just that, it's also because they take a third of your income. If you get a raise, they're taking a third of that raise. You don't.
It's a very small amount. It is. It's a very small amount.
It-
But no matter
it
what,
is, but
it's
it
harder to
also-
save because they're taking a part of your savings because that goes towards the rent.
Yeah. Whereas, like, if you're paying a straight, like, say, $500 a month,
Yeah.
and your income goes up, you're still paying $500 a
Yeah,
month.
yeah.
Your rent doesn't go up every time your income
Mhm.
goes up,
Yeah.
which I think. To me, it's just so frustrating. Anytime I would get a raise, it was like, okay, but how much of that
Now
is
we have to
going
raise
to
the rent. Yeah. Every time.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So I had another thing there too, and I can't remember what it was. So let's just continue.
Along with your financing and the type of loan that you're getting. Do you need to sell your house in order to purchase the next house? There's kind of two ways about this. One, there's what you know that you can afford as far as like monthly payment, if you can make that stretch, having two houses, and the expenses that go along with that. But there's also whether the bank will loan you that money, depending on your debt to income ratio. So honestly, regardless of whether you say, oh, I can totally do two home payments, it really depends on what the lender will allow, and whether they'll loan you the money on having that second house payment. So we got to get the lender involved early on that. Find out if you need to sell in order to purchase, or if you want to sell in order to purchase. It's called subject to sale. And we need to do that early on in the process so we can really plan accordingly. We do that every day. It's very common to do that. There's just some extra steps and logistics that we need to figure out from the get-go on making that work and a smooth transaction for you. Number 5.
I think that's interesting. This is the second video. I just wanted to remark on this because it's kind of funny. Like, we would never think of going to buy two homes. And they're like, here's what we would do with home. Like, what? Very interesting. Anyway, so are we ready to go back into that? You want to say anything?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
What is the amount down payment that you want to put down? This really depends on the type of loan that you have also, because certain types of loans require certain amounts different from others as far as the down payment. Number 6, what interest rate you're expecting to get. Yes, this is actually
So our down payment's going to be $5,000. I already talked about
No matter
this.
what, that's the grant.
Basically, yeah. But that's what I think. I'm honestly not sure,
Because
but I think
that
that's
right there does sound kind of a little tricky.
what I said is I can pay a $5,000 down payment.
Oh, okay.
And I think what generally what we're going to be doing because of the amount the house is going to be is we're going to be paying 10% of whatever it is. So again, that's something that is beneficial if we're buying a $30,000
You
house.
mean as a down payment?
Yeah,
10% down?
yeah. It is.
Okay.
They want 20, but you can do 10.
With the loaner, or
The bank,
that's just what
whatever.
that's an option or some crap. They
Yeah,
normally want 20, but they'll let you do 10
yeah. So the
because you're
difference,
paying more, right?
you're paying more and you're paying longer. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
you're paying more in interest rather than
Okay. Yeah.
yeah. So if you're putting down like say it's a $50,000 house and you're putting down 20%, then your mortgage monthly is going to be less. If you're putting down 30%, your mortgage monthly is going to be even less than that.
Because you're paying more of it off.
Yeah.
Okay,
But
that
it,
makes
it
sense.
adds
Yeah.
up to like maybe 10 to 20, $30 a month added on to your mortgage.
It
So
makes
it's not, it
sense.
doesn't make that much of a difference to do 10 versus 20 for us, especially because, um,
I think that makes
it's,
more. It just
yeah.
the whole system makes sense, and like people that could afford it right out
Yes,
would
but we
do something like
can't.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
could do
So
10 easy. And like I was
yeah.
gonna say, like the benefit to choosing a house that costs less means that our 10% down payment would be less.
Wait, what?
So like if you're buying a $30,000 house, 10% of that is
Oh, yeah,
3,000, not
yeah, yeah, yeah.
5,000.
Okay, yeah, yeah, no. Okay. I think somehow the way I got you. Um, it's very interesting. It's very much like a credit card in a sense, and the way that this stuff goes, the mortgage
Mm-hmm.
and the house, because even with the credit card, like the quicker you pay, the more you pay per month or whatever.
Yeah,
Like
but
this.
the nice thing is that the on a house versus a credit card is like the percentage is so much lower.
I'm
I
curious
think
because
it's like 2 point something percent right now. Like
just as a curiosity, I don't know if you found out. It might even be in one of these videos, but if it in that same sense on a credit card, like you just like let's say you have 6 to 12 months to pay off your bill without credit or whatever, right? Without interest. Um, do they do something similar with homes? Where like maybe one month you have enough money to put in more into
yes,
it?
you can buy points.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, we'll continue this. I was just curious because that was an interesting
Yeah.
okay.
Something we do need to indicate on the financing amendment, and it's actually for your own protection, so it's information we do need to have. Number 7, what is the term length of your loan? So 15 years, 20 years, 30 years, that's also important to put on there. Number 8, do you plan to buy any points to bring down your rate? Again, this is a conversation with your lender and whether or not that's appropriate for your financial situation. Number 9, do you have to ask for any closing costs to be covered by the seller? Sometimes your ability to qualify for the loan is contingent on sellers paying some of those closing costs for you, and that's something that we can do, but we need to plan accordingly to talk about what the numbers look like on your offer to still make your offer competitive if that's something we have to ask for. So there's your tips on the talking to your lender and getting pre-approved, and I'll see you at the next tip.
them because
crap.
like,
Oh man, we were muted. All right,
oh,
we can continue though.
that's all right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
my mistake. Sorry.
That's all right. Let's just go to the next video.
No, you were well, but okay. So real quick, we weren't saying a lot of important. I hate when that happens. Sometimes
It's
I
fine,
double
yeah.
press the button and not knowing because I'll press the button and it double presses.
Uh-huh.
Oh, anyways, so basically, we like what we saw and heard, and I was saying how I like the way that she explains it in a way like a stupid person like me can understand. And Crystal
Well,
was
it's more
saying, I
like
wish
the
she would
average
pause
person.
more or whatever.
No, I just mean like take a breath.
Yeah.
Because I was explaining like Sarah Z.
Speaks really fast.
She's
and now,
one of my-
and now she's changed.
She's a video essayist that I like, but she kind of does that where she just throws all this information at you one after the other and doesn't really take a breath in between points.
Mm-hmm.
And like all you have to do is just take that extra breath and the audience can breathe with you and process what you've said already. But like in this case, you actually just have to pause her if you need to process something because it's just one thing after another, which is fine. I just was saying like if she like ever updated this video in 5 or 10 years,
Could be a little smoother or whatever. I
not
don't know.
not smoother, just a little bit more relaxed. Because if you're, she's trying to get as much information out, and that's transmitting the anxiety of getting the information to me.
Oh,
So if she was
I
like,
getcha. Yeah.
these videos were like half again as long, and all the only difference is just that she was breathing more, like it would be a lot more relaxing to watch.
I see what you mean. Because I do see what you mean, and because like I said, I actually love the way it's presented, but yeah, it could be a little bit more natural, relaxed to it. But that's what I love about it is because even though it, like what you said, they're saying it really fast. It's natural to understand. Like,
Yeah.
I can comprehend it. You know, it's
she's
not a
breaking
bunch
it down
of
very
bullcrap.
simply.
Yeah. That's so perfect because that's what I would need. You know, I can't. You get into all that technical shit. I'm just like,
Oh my god. Yeah, she's not using any jargon. She's not using any like. Yeah, it's good.
All right, the next one is what is earnest money?
Oh, this is fun.
Interesting.
This
All
is one of those hidden fees you keep talking about.
Oh, good, because this is something I have talked to my sister a million times. I'm just like, I don't know. I'm worried about all these hidden costs and these hidden fees that we don't know what's going to happen. Like how much more money we're going to have to spend. We don't know what the hell we have to spend because we hear about this all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. Anytime we've ever talked to anybody throughout our life about like owning a home, they're like, oh yeah, but it's not as simple as you think. Like Rinzi would do that with us. If we told him, if we were
somebody
to tell
who's never
him,
owned a home,
if we were to tell him this mortgage over here is $300 a month for this really beautiful home, he'd be like, oh, but what about all the hidden fees and all the things you got to do this and 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 this, you know? And he's not the only one.
Yeah.
But I do think about that. I do because I do know.
Well, that's why I'm glad we have these videos because like this is. I mean, like I said, I only got up to like the 6th video, but there's only 10, and this is the only thing that she said that I didn't know about.
Okay, cool.
Or
right.
I think I did know about it and forgot about it.
Or yeah, okay.
And also, it's not that much money.
Okay, let's go. Let's check. This one's 2.5 minutes, pretty short. Here we go.
All right, tip number 3. This one's going to be about earnest money. So, earnest money is the good faith money you put down with your offer. Think of it as a deposit, like you would if you're renting an apartment. This needs to be turned in the next business day from when your offer is accepted. So that's really important to know, and I'll get to that in a couple of points here. So if it's late Sunday night, that means Monday. If it's Friday night, that means Monday. Oftentimes this is turned in the form of a personal check, but sometimes it's required to be a cashier's check. That really just kind of depends on the brokerage that listed the property and what title company they're using. The contract reads that the suggested minimum is 1% of the purchase price. So if it's a $100,000 house, that means $1,000 would be the earnest money to put down. If you want, here's a big tip here, if you want your offer to stand out among other offers, then it's really important to consider putting down more earnest money. Where does the earnest money go? When it gets turned in, it will be deposited into an escrow account and held there until closing. So this means you have to have that money in advance sitting in your account waiting, ready for when you write that check. Because when we do decide on a house, usually it happens pretty quickly and you probably won't have time to move money into that account or move things around. So it's a good idea right now, decide after talking to your lender what your price range is on your house, the amount then that would be about 1% of that, set that aside, maybe a little bit more so we can show the seller how serious you are, into an account that you can write a check out of when we find that dream house of yours. If you close, this money is applied to the closing cost. So it goes into the total number. When you lose your earnest money is when you just change your mind about a property. That's a no-no. And if you do change your mind about purchasing property after you've already gone under contract, there is a lot of other legal ramifications, significant ones, that you could run into. So we don't want to take your contract lightly at all. But that is how you could lose your earnest money. Now, if there's an issue when the seller breaks the terms of the contract, then you would get your earnest money back, returned to you, and we can discuss more in details when we meet what situations that could be. So the point here is have the money ready, have it in your account, and have your check ready to write before we ever hit the house tours so that you are ready and able to do that when we find your dream home.
All right, making sure this time I didn't double press the mic button. No, it happens even in my stream. Sometimes I press the button once and it just double clicks for some reason. It just happens. So I still, is that basically a deposit?
So like the down payment would go to the bank, and the earnest money I think goes directly to the seller.
That did not clear things up for me.
I know. I know, it's a little confusing.
That one I would.
But
Huh?
the main point to take away from that is that it's 1% of the house. So if she's starting a $100,000 house would be $1,000.
Yeah.
For us, it would be
It'd much
500 or
cheaper.
less.
Yeah.
But if we wanted to let them know we're serious, then obviously we'd
Put
go a little
bigger-
bit higher.
yeah,
Than that.
no.
But like that'd be $1,000 maximum for that, and we can afford that along with a down payment and moving. So
That's what I mean. The down payment and an earnest thingy,
that would be 6,000 tops.
which is a big push. I mean,
I mean-
5,000 alone is a big push.
It's not with what we have right
Yeah.
now. We have let's see, I have 8,000, almost 9,000. So that's like, it still would be enough for us to move, and then
yeah.
you still have money too.
Yes, but the longer we're here,
Yeah.
the quicker that's. I mean, every month that's just.
But that's what I like about the fact that like buying a house, once it's gone through, like you're out. You're like there in a month or two.
Okay. Yeah, so that was just that. I don't know. It's weird because I could grasp what she was saying, but I still didn't. I was like, wait. Because it's kind of it's a weird deposit. Like
it's a big concept, but basically it's like you're letting them know you actually have the money to buy the house. You're letting the seller know, not the bank. The bank can say whatever.
Oh,
but the seller finds out that way.
Isn't that the point of the down payment though?
Again, like you're talking to two different people, the bank and the seller. So
yeah,
the seller's getting offers. They'll probably get 2 or 3 offers on their house. How much you're offering, plus how much you're putting in the earnest money, plus whether or not you're asking for changes to the house before you move in. Like all of that goes into consideration of whether they want to sell to you or somebody else.
All right, so that's the earnest thing is a tricky part.
Yeah. But again, it's not that expensive, and it's money that we're not just losing, it's going into buying the house.
Yeah.
Unless we decide to back out.
No, it's cool. It just definitely makes it a little bit more because and I mean just me, like I mean I would like to put as much as we could, but
yeah. I mean, honestly, if it's 1% they want, even if we did $1,000, apparently that means something to them, even though it doesn't sound like a lot to us.
Okay. Yeah, no, I mean that's the only reason it's weird to me is because I thought that was the purpose of the down payment.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
So, all right, the next tip is family matters in the buying decision. Okay, interesting. All right.
How long is this video? Yeah, it's a short one.
All right, buyer tip number 4. This one is getting on the same page as your spouse. So while this is geared towards couples getting on the same page, this also goes for anyone else who's going to be involved in your purchasing process. This could be children, maybe adult children if you're downsizing, a best friend that is a contractor and wants to check out the house before you purchase it. Anyone who is financially going to be involved, say your parents or maybe great Aunt Cynthia who is gifting you the money for the down payment, they may want to be involved in the process, so we want to have them involved in the whole process, and I will go into more why we want to do that during the home etiquette or the home tour etiquette video I'll be doing later on is another tip. So here's the deal with getting on the same page. Decide what the deal breakers are. What things you're willing to compromise on, what things you're not willing to compromise on. We'll get on the same page financially, what you're willing to spend. That's going to be a big one. Think about location. Do you need to take some time to meet with school representatives if you're deciding between school districts? If you are more local to the area, then maybe driving around different areas with your spouse to get a feel for where you really picture yourself. Make sure you're on the same page with who your realtor is. Also, I've encountered couples that have been each talking to different realtors, and then one of them has to break up with one of the realtors because really there can only be one that ultimately takes you through the process and gets you to the closing table. So get on the same page with who you're working with, how you're going about it, what you're doing financially, and that makes the whole process smoother.
That was a very simple one. And it did remind me of one thing, though, because that doesn't really relate to us too much.
Well, it does a little bit just because we've only been looking at the houses separately up until
that
this
was what I
point.
was about
Yeah.
to say. Is that's one of the first things I wanted to make sure we do, especially because when you were super excited for a house, and I looked at it, I was like, nah.
Yeah. Well, and actually, I put that in the question mark instead of the heart because I didn't like the fact that it was right around the corner from a liquor store and a
And a
pawn
gun
shop.
shop.
And a
And
gun
a
shop.
gun shop, liquor store. Well, no, I mean, I thought it was great next to a liquor store.
That's my alky. You can have the alcohol delivered, you fucking alcoholic.
Well, I mean, the areas look amazing. Like, I would love to walk around those areas. Although this area is pretty nice too. So, yeah. And up the hill, it's beautiful there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and some of the houses have really huge backyards because there's no neighbors there. So like
One of the ones that I sent you some. Did you look at them? There was two in that list I sent you this morning that they blew my mind.
Yeah.
I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Like, these are
There's
so
one
incredible.
that like the whole backyard is just big trees.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
if you like zoom out on the map, it's just more trees because there's no houses over there.
It's so beautiful.
Yeah. I love that one. Love that one.
I couldn't believe when I was, because we got new ones. They're just 7 new ones today.
Yeah.
And I liked like 6 out of 7. I wanted all of them. I was like,
Yeah.
holy crap, like these are amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that was the thing.
Those are the ones I asked her to add, by the way.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
That was all. I want to make sure that we're looking through these together.
Yes. So I brought my phone in with me because my eyes aren't great, so looking at your screen isn't gonna work. But
That's weird. It's
I can look at it.
Screen.
I know, but it's further away. I'm nearsighted.
Okay.
So
she doesn't wear glasses. Mm-hmm.
I lost my glasses and haven't been able to buy new ones.
Okay. See, and this is why we're trying to move somewhere cheaper or more affordable.
Yeah. So
I know my glasses. Mine are almost as bad as Rinzy's.
My phone's at 24%. Can you charge?
Can you charge it? Are they the same charger?
Yeah.
Okay.
iPhones. Oh wait, no.
I don't use iPhone.
Mine's an iPhone. Let me go.
Are they USB? If it's USB, that should be fine.
No, it's not. I mean, it is, but it's a different end.
No.
Oh, there.
Oh, yeah, she had this she saw this house and she was just like, oh my gosh, this is so amazing, the best thing, it's so perfect, I want to go here so badly. And I was like, it's all right. I was not impressed at all. But this has been a part of us being on different schedules. So we will get around to looking at these together, probably today, but maybe tomorrow or the weekend.
Well, and because there's so many houses, we probably will take a couple of days just to look at them.
Oh yeah, for sure. No, I know we will. Yeah, you can move the bag if you want.
I can just sit on it.
Okay. You got chips. Didn't you go to get a charger for your phone?
No, I just plugged it in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought you were gonna bring it in here and charge it. Okay.
I brought popcorn for the next video.
Okay, so this one is understanding real estate contracts.
Cool.
All right.
Tip number 5. So this one is reviewing contracts and paperwork. So, okay, I'll admit this is a tedious one and these contracts will put you to sleep at night. But it's important to have a chance to review these documents before you need to sign them. This saves you time. And time is really valuable once you've found the house that you want to make an offer on. And when you're trying to get the house of your dreams, you don't want to waste that time. So the initial sales contract is actually 7 pages long. Any amendments that we might include with it, such as the inspections amendment, if you plan on doing inspections, is another 3 or 4 pages along with that. And then the financing amendment is another 2 pages. And then there could be additional things that we include as well, depending on your circumstances. So it's all part of the offer documents and ultimately the contract that we sign. So it's your contract with the seller, and so it's important to read through that and understand what that means. The contracts are designed to be a checks and balances between what are your obligations and what are the seller's obligations. So it's really important to know what that means. And to give yourself a chance to read it and a chance to ask questions, and for me to explain those things prior to signing it, so that you really get a feel for what's going on. So reading them in advance gives you a chance to decide if there is an aspect of our local contract that is not conducive to your needs in your purchasing process. If that is the case, then you can meet with an attorney to draft up changes for you in advance, again, so you're ready with that. If we're waiting for that during a multiple offer situation, you may have just missed out, and it's all stuff that can be prepared in advance. Having an attorney review and advise you is not a requirement, but always something that you can do. If you want to have an attorney involved in your transaction, then we need to arrange that ahead of time, again, to save you time when the time is valuable. So you also need to review how you want to take title, because that is a form for that. We can talk more about that later. Also, you need to know what the Illinois required disclosures are for the seller and what that looks like. And it's important to know what a seller has to disclose and what they don't have to disclose. And so it's good to know that expectation prior to doing any home tours. Also, I have a copy of all of these documents and we'll send them to you upon request to review, so you have a chance to feel confident about what you are signing.
There's some key shit in that one.
Yeah,
Very key shit.
I had seen it. There's one piece of popcorn on the
There's a
floor.
bunch. Stop slopping all over my fucking floor. Jeez, man.
There's only one. That one was yours.
Okay.
She did send us the forms. Like
Yeah.
they're not.
So, but the thing.
They all say draft,
The thing
just like
very
it's
key
nice.
there.
Hmm.
First of all, was the recommendation of an attorney, which I forgot about, and I've thought about that before, and that would be extra costs.
Yeah, I don't want an attorney.
Makes sense to have one though,
Yeah, but that's only if you think somebody's trying to screw you.
which in this world everybody is.
Yeah.
And then again, on top of that, as you just said, another major key was what they have to disclose and what they don't.
Oh, okay. So I actually have an email from Amanda where I talked about that, and I'll forward it to you.
Okay.
And
that one.
So
When
basically,
she said that, I was like, because they'll not disclose anything they don't have to.
they have
No,
to
but for
disclose
sure.
foundation, roof, radon, lead paint, and mold.
All right, those are important things.
Yes.
But what don't they have to disclose though?
Probably, I mean, anything cosmetic, and maybe like floorboards or something. Like if your floor is like weak or warped. That's one of the reasons that I want to do a walkthrough. If the like, you don't want the floor to feel uneven or wobbly when you're walking out, especially if you weigh 300 pounds like I do. Like, I just want to make sure that my floor is solid.
Go to the house and fall through the floor and shit.
Yeah. They also don't have to tell you what the neighborhood is like.
Yeah.
But they do have to tell you if so one of the houses I was looking at, they have the disclosure statements on the website. And so one of them said there was evidence that this was a meth house at one point.
I wouldn't mind living in a meth house. If it's a nice meth house, I wouldn't care.
It was really nice, but I was like, that explains why the price is so low.
Oh.
But it also tells you something maybe about the neighborhood, although not necessarily, because sometimes meth people just find a good house, to do that in.
Yeah.
And buy it. Like
I mean, hell, they did it in Breaking Bad. They lived in the suburbs.
Yeah.
Really nice place. Although they took the camper out in the desert and shit.
Yeah. So they didn't find a meth like cooking room or anything, but they found indication that there might have been one there at one point. That was in one of the disclosures, which I thought was fucking
If it was a nice
hilarious.
house, I wouldn't have given a crap.
Yeah. Oh no, I don't care. But I just thought it was
I
funny.
mean,
because they do
I'll
have to
just turn
disclose
it into
that.
a pot house.
If somebody's died in the house, they have to disclose that.
That's such a weird thing.
Or murdered. Maybe not died, but murdered. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that just when she said a couple of those things, I was like, "Oh crap,"
Yeah. I guess
like.
they don't have to tell you about the plumbing either. So that's one thing that you need to get checked
Mm,
out.
yeah.
So that's one thing that the inspections will
Sewage
cover.
and water and
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah. Okay. All right. The next one is understanding closing costs.
Buyer tip number 6. So here we are. This is understanding closing costs. There are actually 3 different amounts, the amounts of money that you need when purchasing a home. One, earnest money. We talked about that in tip number 3. Down payment. This is required as part of your loan, and the amount depends on the type of loan that you have and what you and your lender decided, as mentioned in tip number 2. And then the third amount of money is closing costs. There are, these are the extra line items that you'll see on your closing statement, such as inspection cost, loan origination fees, title work, recording fee for your deed at the courthouse, the actual closing cost at the title company, the initial homeowner's insurance cost. The lender might require an amount to start off your real estate tax escrow account. So those are all additional items. We'll talk more in detail about what your costs for your transaction will be because some of it is dependent on the amount of the full transaction, the purchase price of the house. But generally speaking, I tell people this is typically between $1,000 to $3,000, just as a rule of thumb. There is also some.
So this $1,000, $3,000, that's everything you have.
Okay. However, what she's also saying is sometimes the owner will cover the closing costs or part of the closing costs. Also, the closing costs are going to depend on how expensive your house is. And
Mhm.
her examples so far have been for
Really
$100,000
expensive.
house.
Okay, then
So
because that's
think about
already a
like
very
half of that.
scary amount.
One of the houses literally says in the description that the seller will cover $1,000 of the closing costs. So that covers that.
And I didn't realize this either. The video is not quite down. We have a tiny bit more, but I didn't even think of that. So closing cost is the close of the sale.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's your actual, now that you bought it, here are the fees for paying or for buying the home or whatever, mortgaging it. Yeah, so that is a huge
Mm-hmm. And that's also why it would be a good idea to
extra
buy
cost.
something under 50,000 if
Okay.
we can.
All right, let's finish this one. Jeez, man.
Something you can ask the seller to cover, or the closing cost is something you can ask the seller to cover, but we'll need to have a further discussion on that as it can affect the overall consideration of your offer. So there's ways that we can do that to still put you in a good position with your offer.
All right, so the cool thing is that you can ask the seller to cover the costs,
Mm-hmm.
even if they don't offer it. Be like, hey, by the way, we're poor as fuck.
Yeah, and I think the way that you mitigate that is to say that you'll pay more for the house.
Mm. Oh.
So if it's like 39,000 and you say I'll pay 41, but you have to cover closing costs because we're going to be paying that money over
You
time
pay
instead
that
of
money
upfront.
back and yeah, no, I actually like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine. That sounds good to me.
Yeah.
That makes a lot more sense.
Mm-hmm.
That would alleviate a whole lot of pressure
Mm-hmm.
on them, the closing cost itself.
Yeah.
Okay. Next one is home inspections.
Buyer tip number 7. This one's going to be about inspections. I could probably talk for hours on inspections, and we will talk more about this in detail, but this is just kind of a snapshot because I know this is a question that a lot of people have about inspections. Inspections actually come after we've placed an offer, so there's a couple different ways that you can make an offer on a property as far as the condition goes. You can take it as is, and so you're taking it just totally as is with all the faults and everything, and the sellers will not be making any repairs. Sometimes that means you can do inspections, sometimes no inspections, depends on how we do that. The other option, which I would say is probably more common, is where you take it as is, but with the understanding that everything is in reasonable working order, meaning the plumbing works, the electricity works, that there's no major electrical defect, that the furnace and air conditioner work, those kinds of things. And so then we make that offer with that understanding with the seller, and then after we come to an agreement on the price and it's all accepted, then there is a period of time, typically 14 days per our contract, where you can do your due diligence period, meaning you can do the inspections that we have selected that we would do, because we do need to decide that when we're making the offer, what inspections we want to do. Typically, you'll see your buyer's inspection. You can do radon, mold. You could do a special fireplace inspection, chimney, if you want. If there's a pool, we can inspect the pool. So we'll talk more about that in detail with each property, what would be appropriate as far as inspections goes for that, and what you're comfortable with, what your threshold for risk is. We have to decide in advance what inspections we're going to have. And we come to an agreement with the price and the terms, which sometimes terms involves which inspections they'll let us do and which they won't let us do, and that's all part of deciding whether or not we move forward on the property. So it gets accepted, then we have that period of time when we can do those inspections. So we do those inspections. If there are any issues with the property, major defects that would be considered contractual, and we'll go over that, what contractual items are and what they are not. There are many things that are going to be noted on that home inspection, such as small cracks in the sidewalk, torn screens, cosmetic issues, things like that. You cannot ask for any of those for the sellers to be repaired. Contractual items are going to be major mechanical defects. The furnace is not working. Maybe there is a structural issue with the foundation. Things like that. The roof is leaking. If the roof is not leaking, and this goes for anything, regardless of age, if it's performing the function that it was designed to perform, it's fine. So the roof could be old as dirt, but if it is not leaking, then you're taking that totally as is. The seller's not required or contractually to make any repairs. So,
did you watch this one already?
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember? Because we're about to continue it. But that makes me wonder if maybe like at the moment the roof isn't leaking, but they know that it's deteriorating or something, and that it might be leaking soon.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing they can do about that.
Oh,
But it is something that you can ask for during the inspection, because the homeowner doesn't have to tell you, but an inspector will.
Okay. All right. I was just curious on that one.
We'll do our inspections, and then if there is a mechanical defect, major mechanical defect, we can talk about if it's appropriate to ask the seller to make that remedy there, since we had come to an agreement on our expectation of those being in reasonable working order. And if they say, no, take a hike, then we have an option of how we want to proceed. Then if we want to try to negotiate that with them, get them to do some of that repair, all of that repair, or if you said, nope, I mean, that is way too much money for me to take on that repair myself, then we have an option, if sellers are unwilling to do the contractual item, to back out at that point in time. You would still be responsible for paying for those inspections, but if it is a contractual item that the seller's unwilling to repair, then you would get your earnest money back. Again, we will have detailed discussions on what that means, ramifications for that, all of that, when the time comes, but this is kind of a snapshot of that. And I'm already over 3 minutes. I apologize. Just a little bit more here. We'll also want to determine who we want to do those inspections. It's a good idea to have that kind of decided in advance, because again, we have 14 days to do those inspections, and sometimes it's several inspections. There's a well, septic. We also want those to get inspected. Sometimes we got to get on wait list with those inspectors. So do some research in advance. I can get you a list of inspectors in the area. You can go with any inspector that's licensed in the state of Illinois, and talk to them in advance, find out what they inspect, what they don't, what their process is when they go through a property, see if you feel comfortable with them, and then we'll put them on our list. And you may want to have a number 1 choice, number 2 choice, number 3 choice, because depending on scheduling, we've only got so many days to get someone in there. And so it's something that if you do your due diligence in advance in finding who you want to do those inspections, it saves us time later, and we can get those scheduled right away. And the next is look at a sample of a home inspection. I'm happy to share with you samples of home inspections I've had done on properties that I've purchased, and that way you get a feel for what they look like, what things are on there, and what things on there could be considered contractual and what wouldn't be. Just so that way it's not a shock when you get yours, because again, they note on everything, even maintenance items that are typically a buyer's responsibility once they own the home to take care of. So we'll talk more in detail about that, but that is my tip on inspections.
All right, and that's another extra cost.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I was looking at her estimates. I think it would be probably less than $700.
You say that like it's so cheap. Less than $700. That's a lot of money.
It's what we can afford, and it's
So
necessary.
you considered this though as a
Yeah.
part, because I mean, earlier what would just go? What was the previous one? It was $3,000 on closing costs.
Yeah, again, you can have the seller cover those.
You can ask.
Like I'm thinking about all this stuff, and none of the numbers that she throws out is like costs that you don't necessarily know about if you have never bought a home before. Like they're not so astronomical that I can't see us doing it.
Okay.
It makes it a little bit tighter, but like again, like we're good.
Because yeah, the inspector, and then they're saying, have up to 3 inspectors ready for the timeline.
It depends on what you want to have inspected and what the inspectors that you do. Like if you have an inspector that covers more things, then you only hire one inspector. You
Well,
know?
no, she's saying the point was your inspector might not be available for the time we need them to
Oh
come
right,
show
yeah.
up.
That's one of the things that stressed me out when I was watching this first time is like, oh, I assumed that they provide an inspector that
Yeah.
or recommend somebody. But that's research that we have to do ourselves, which is
Yeah.
fine. I mean, there are a lot of people we have to be careful. I would definitely check reviews because Uncle Robert's a home inspector and he's shady as fuck. So,
Well, he's a shady person, but I don't know if he does his job badly or great.
yes. So that's definitely something that we want to check into. But that's for me, like in terms of research that we have to do on our own, that's the first thing that she's mentioned
That we would have to do without
without
them.
her. Yeah, exactly. So that's reassuring.
All right. Still, though, that's definitely a cost.
Yeah, and well, you know, the other thing too is that these are upfront costs.
Mm-hmm.
They're not included in like the mortgage or whatever.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's still it's I include it with like like I just count it as like moving costs. It just makes our moving costs
Yeah.
higher.
Mm-hmm.
And then once we're there and once we're settled, we're still only paying whatever it is.
Yeah.
But it's one of the reasons that I'm looking at the lower end houses versus the upper amount that we could pay.
Well, what I thought was interesting was a few of the newer ones she sent us.
Mm-hmm.
They were closer to under 40K,
Mm-hmm.
and they were nice as fuck.
Again, those are the ones I told her to add.
So, you've just looked them up on Realtor or
Yeah.
something? Because those were real nice.
They were really nice.
Real nice.
Yeah.
I saw the price and I was like, wait, what? Huh?
Yeah, I think a lot of it comes down to neighborhood, zip code. So, because a lot of them
was
are.
that the bad area?
Yeah. But, I mean, what I would do, because just because it's an iffy neighborhood doesn't mean that there's necessarily anything close to where you are. Like, we have two very different sides of Glendale here. We have, like, the more industrial side over there, and then we have over here is more like Burbank, which is mostly houses and fewer liquor stores and fewer car dealerships.
Well, I didn't even notice until you had talked about it before when I was telling you about Enid, Oklahoma, because a friend of mine, lived there and loved it there. And you had mentioned something about the crime rate.
Mm-hmm.
Is that something you were looking at in these zip codes too, or whatever?
Yeah. Oh, and there's actually one of the reasons I brought my phone in is because you can actually look at the grade for your zip code. There's a website that like actually grades them based on their various things, but also like schools and stuff like that. So
I was thinking about this earlier, and it made me cry a little bit because, when she responded and said like, this zip code is considered the South End, which I was telling you about, and I have no idea what that means, and I can't help but think that it normally means the black people area or whatever, and I'm just like, first of all, I don't care about if I'm living around black people, like that's fine, but it made me really sad for a few minutes because I was like, this is how we're judging where we're gonna live because if there are too many black people there or something, like. And then
the only reason it's a consideration for me, and like again, I don't have a problem with black neighbors or whatever. Like the black neighborhoods tend to be policed more heavily, and police cause more crime.
No, I know.
So
no, that's what sucks though, and I'm that's what makes it so damn sad is that I'm just like, this is fucking dumb, and people try to act like, oh, black neighborhoods, it's their fault, black on black crime, this and that, whatever. No. And no, it's because we can't even move there without somebody being like, oh, that's the bad side of town or whatever, shit like that, right?
For me, it's more about like how how many cops are in this vicinity, because I don't want to live somewhere with a lot of cops, because a lot of cops create
They're
antagonism. They,
horrible. And from
murder.
I mean, it depends on your area too. Like
But that's one of the reasons that I was gravitating more towards the houses that have lots of trees in the backyard. And then also I'm looking at the houses next to it, and the cars, they tend to be nicer, newer cars. They tend to, the
no, there was
houses
a few I was looking at. And I was
are,
like, this looks like a rich ass area.
yeah, the
Like it.
houses are often either as nicely maintained as the houses I'm looking at, or better. So that's what I'm looking at when I'm looking at the surrounding areas. When I go to like the sidewalk view in the map.
I looked at a couple and it was just I can't remember one of my favorites. So I don't remember which
Yeah,
one.
we were looking at a house and you're like, I like the one next door better.
What am oh well no, but I mean I was doing this morning during work when I was looking through some of the new ones, and I think that was this morning. I was going through the streets and I was like, man, this looks so beautiful.
Yeah.
This looks it looks so nice, and I'm just like, and a few many of these that we've looked at, I'm like, this looks like what we hear when we see in TV and movies here in California and LA and stuff. Is like this looks like the suburbs right here.
Hmm.
And I don't think it's considered the suburbs.
So apparently in the 80s there was this big company that had employed most of the town that moved to Chicago. And so all the rich people went with them. And so now it's either middle class or poor. Yeah.
Oh, that's
Yeah, which
hilarious.
I'm fine with. I mean, we're poor. I don't
Yeah,
mind being poor in a poor neighborhood
yeah.
because I'm already
What are
poor,
you kidding me?
you
Poor
know?
neighborhood. That's the way it looks like the nicest place we've ever
Well,
been.
I don't think that's poor. I think that's more middle class.
Oh, I
Yeah.
gotcha. Well, no, I mean, I said,
Because there are houses that are cheaper than the
mm,
ones that I asked her to add,
oh,
but they're
okay,
just not in as good
much worse and
condition.
stuff.
Yeah.
There was a couple I was looking through the photos, and they weren't horrible, but you could tell they were run down.
Mhm.
I mean, holes in the walls and
Yeah.
all kinds of floor fuck ups and
Yeah, and we kind of have to decide before we decide on which house that we want her, which houses we want her to go see in person, but
mm,
also which house we want to put an offer on. Like, how much work are we willing to do when we get
and the
there?
inspection and stuff.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and well, part of that too. What I was thinking today, when I'm telling you, it made me really sad, and it wasn't like a depression sad. It was just like, why is this the world we live in?
Yeah.
This is so fucking dumb. But I remembered, I did not. We've had this conversation a couple times about when we were in foster care, and I told you like one of those foster homes, was gang territory. It was gunshots.
Oh yeah, that was here.
That was Glendale,
Yeah.
but that was old Glendale because that's Glendale now is nothing like that.
Well, it's not where we're close to Burbank. Again, we're in the
We've been
bougie part.
around a lot of Glendale though.
Yeah.
I can't think of a freaking gang territory over here in Glendale. Like where were we? Because I mean,
I think we were closer to
L.A.
Pasadena probably.
Mm. Well, Pasadena's kind of nice too.
It is now. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
been
that's
gentrified.
my
Yeah.
point. Yeah, as times change, and that changes that as well. It's weird.
Yeah.
It's so weird because I remember. I mean, I didn't even know that was Glendale until you told me. Like I
Yeah.
just remembered there being major gang territory, major gunshots all the time.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. So that's a trip.
And I mean, the only time we hear gunshots is like around holidays, like New Year's or 4th of July or whatever.
Well, and
And that's because people are being stupid, not because they're shooting each other.
now what's weird is I feel like I might have heard some recently in the past several months, in the past year, because of stuff going on. But
Oh yeah, during the riots for sure.
but the riots, but oftentimes too, cars backfire. Like
Yeah.
could be car backfire.
A car backfires actually sounds more like a gunshot than a gunshot. Because
Yeah,
of TV.
right?
TV
Yeah.
changed the way that gunshots sound.
Oh.
Gunshots aren't actually as big and loud as they are on TV.
I thought so.
That's why when that guy got shot on our first day of high school, the drive-by, like when I heard it, I was like, Neva, I was walking with Neva and she was like, was that a gunshot? And I was like, no, it's just a firecracker. Somebody's being stupid.
Well,
I had no
people do
idea.
firecrackers then too. All
Yeah,
the
but
time, yeah.
but it didn't sound like a gunshot, like a TV gunshot. Like
Oh,
it sounded
yeah.
like a firecracker. It was
Yeah.
very small and not scary.
Yeah. Oh, like a little crack.
Yeah,
A little just crack.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. I forgot about that.
yeah.
Of course, it depends on the gun type and all that. Anyways, I just thought it was interesting because I that made me really sad. I was like, Also, because also
That's
now
what it actually sounds like.
I don't I don't know this about her or anything, but let's say for example, if she was racist,
Hmm.
then that would also affect how she would view a certain neighborhood, you know, even
Yes.
if it's not like if it's just a black neighborhood and not full of crime and violence or whatever, she'd be like, "Oh, that's the black part of the city or whatever,"
Yeah.
you know,
Well,
like
okay, so but that's why I looked up the zip codes in the there's a website that
Mhm.
just basically rates all the
Yeah.
zip codes in terms of like house quality, house
I'm glad we have
price, all
that.
that
It's
stuff.
something to try. Yeah.
But it matched up with what she said.
Okay.
So
Well, the thing too that I thought was interesting too, and the reason I
plus she wasn't like, I don't want you to live near black people. She was saying
no,
like,
I know, no, that's what I'm saying is I don't know that, so
hmm.
no, that's why it's good that you can look that up. But the also,
Yeah. Plus, she also, when she said 61603, she said some parts of 61603,
mm,
which for me is the one that's right around the corner of the liquor store, the gun shop, and
mm,
in the pawn shop. Like, that to me just screams, like, I don't want to live near here.
I don't know why. I mean, I was like, dude, I could go get a gun.
When was the last time you saw a pawn shop in Beverly Hills?
I don't go to Beverly Hills.
Yeah, there aren't any. I'll tell you, I've been there. There aren't any.
Why does that even matter? They're Beverly Hills. They're rich people.
Pawn shops are for lower class neighborhoods. And like we have a check cashing, like a check advance place.
Mm.
Those are for poor neighborhoods. Like that's like two buildings down on the corner. Like a lot of liquor stores. These are all things to look for. It doesn't mean a conclusion, but it's something that's like
We
kind
have
of a
like
little
10
bit.
liquor stores up and down the street
Yeah,
here. This is a beautiful neighborhood.
it's
And we're not
okay.
overloaded by crime either.
No, no, we're a very safe neighborhood. But these are just things that you look for. It
Mm.
doesn't mean necessarily anything. But what I
Okay.
I didn't like was that our next door neighbor was a business and that there was a parking lot right next to our house. I didn't like that.
Oh,
That was the
okay.
house that I really, 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 really liked.
It was a nice one, if I remember
Was the
right.
kitchen was so cute, it was blue with all the white trim, and it was like all beautiful. Anyway,
Well, and then the other, I don't know how reliable that. I imagine it's decent, but I mean, I remember when I
well,
talked
we
to you
have to
about.
look at what their criteria is because one of their criteria is schools, and I could give a fuck about the schools,
Well,
you
no, I
know.
mean as far as the danger of the city, because I mean, we were
Well,
talking.
I don't think that's what they're rating, honestly.
We were talking about Enid, Oklahoma, which because and the only reason I ended up this was years ago when we first were talking about it, and I found out from one of my friends, this is where he lived, and he's not there anymore because they had to move. They had their own situation that they had to change where they lived, but he had told me about it, so I had followed a page because it was a page that I remembered. I came across it when we were looking for places to move, and they share stuff all the time. I was showing you a few of them. They're amazing. They were like, oh my gosh, these are beautiful freaking homes and stuff, and really cheap. Like holy crap, just nuts. And you were like, oh, the crime rate's high, and I was like, what?
Because it's the first thing that pops up when you Google Enid, Oklahoma. It's like literally Enid, Oklahoma has one of the highest crime rates of blah blah blah.
And I remember I asked my friend, I told him that, and he said, what? I lived there for 30 years, and I don't know what you're talking about, kind of a
Yeah.
thing. So, and I might we
Well,
could we
and
could go
something
through
else
that
I'm
same
looking
thing.
looking for is I'm not seeing any bars on the windows of the neighbors' houses
Yeah,
or
yeah.
or the houses that we're looking at.
Mm.
I'm not seeing windows that are boarded
There's
up.
none of that
That's
in Oklahoma that I've seen in all the houses.
yeah. But I don't want to live in
I'm just
Oklahoma.
saying. That's why I don't. When you told me that, I was like, well, then how do we trust these sites then? Like, what the hell?
Yeah,
That's all.
but that's something else that's a big warning sign is if you see a neighborhood that has
Oh,
bars
boy, yeah.
on the
That
windows of every
sucks.
house,
Yeah.
that means there's a lot of
And that's up
break-ins.
for them too.
Yeah.
If they're living in that situation. That's
Yeah.
horrible. Yeah.
But I don't want to move into a neighborhood like that.
Did our foster care have that one?
Maybe.
I think it did. I never really thought about it.
I don't
I think I remember
remember.
I used to think that the bars on windows were for style.
Oh, yeah.
Like
Some
when
of
I
them
was
looked
young.
nice, yeah.
Yeah. I think I used to think that when I was a
But
kid.
the funny thing is that, like, I think studies show that bars on the windows actually invites more crime rather than keeps it away.
What?
Something like that.
That's weird.
Yeah.
And I know the only thing I know, my main thought of that was like it definitely was an indication of like, oh shit, these guys go through some crap. But I also felt bad because I was like, they gotta look out of that, and
Well, plus if
You're
there's a
you're in your
fire, you
own
can't
prison.
climb out the
You're
window
in your own prison,
because it's
you know.
barred
Yeah,
in.
that's terrible.
Like you just die in your house fire. So let's not do that.
That sucks.
Okay, next video.
Okay, this one is Collab Center Home Search.
Haha, so that's what we've been looking at.
Oh, the website or whatever
Yeah,
that shows all the
I
stuff.
think I didn't watch this one. This thing, I think I stopped at video 7.
Okay, cool. Here we go.
Okay, buyer tip number 8. This one is honing in on your search. And so this is where we really take what you're looking for, and I really set up a search criteria for you in my system. It's called Collab Center. That's what I like to use. Depending on what you're looking for, we might have to use a couple different systems to make sure we're capturing the full picture of what's available out there on the market. But ideally, I really want to drill down on specifics on what you want so that we're getting notifications and lists of properties that are actually meeting your criteria and sifting through all the ones that don't. So that way, that saves us time also, so that when the right one comes up, it's right there in front of us, and we can go after it and not have to worry about these 5 other ones that didn't quite fit the bill for some reason though, but they showed up on your list, and then we find out they don't have the features you wanted. So I really get very specific on what we're wanting, at least to drop a net on the locations and areas, school districts. Maybe there's certain kind of acreage that you want. Maybe you want a lot size of so much, a fenced-in yard, different things like that. Whatever we can drill down on and get specific on, we will. But we can always make adjustments as we go too. So we can narrow the search, we can broaden the search, and we will figure it out as we go what the availability is of those properties as well, because what you're looking for may be what everyone else is looking for, and so we're gonna have to get creative on that. And when I have a better idea of exactly what you're looking for, then I can really go out there and hunt for that, maybe even off-market properties, or when something's about to hit the market, we can find out about it in advance and just kind of get a jump on it. And having these other tips done and these other preparation pieces done that I've been talking about in these tips will really help you have an advantage in that situation as well. So honing in on our search, we'll get specific on it. I'll be asking you very specific questions on what you want, what you don't want. Sometimes, people aren't sure what they want, but they know what they don't want. And so we can go that route also. Also, when properties do come out that you might have interest on, take a second, doesn't take long, Google it, map it, Google Earth it, something like that, just so you have an idea of where the location is. Because what we don't want to do is we don't want to pull up into the driveway so excited about the showing, and then you realize that your cousin who you can't stand lives around the corner, and you're like, oh, I just didn't recognize the address, the street name. We cannot live here. I don't want to live by this family member. We could have avoided all that frustration and waste of time if we would have just Googled it real quick, made sure that you were okay with the location. And so take time to do that. If you have a chance before the showing, if we're seeing stuff on Friday and it's a Tuesday and we've scheduled it all, take a drive, make sure, or even before we schedule it, even better, take a drive, make sure that you're like, hey, I really love this neighborhood. This looks great. I do want to see this property. Don't be creepy, okay? You can drive by the house, but even if it's vacant, it is not appropriate to pull in and walk around the property. Not appropriate. People have the cops called on them when those things happen, so don't do that. But you're welcome to drive by it. Drive down the street, make sure you're good with the area, the commute, maybe drive it from your house to work, or from that house to your work or something like that, or at least map it while you're there. Oh, it says it's 17 minutes to my job. That way you get a better idea of if that location is right for you and your lifestyle. And so that's it for this one. I'll see you on the next tip.
We had a few laughs throughout that video.
Okay, so I did watch that video, or at least I got through half of it, and that's one of the reasons I sent her all the stuff that we were looking for, just like bullet pointed it. I will forward that to you and her reply, because she was very thorough with her response.
Okay,
about
good.
Yeah.
See, this is what's messed up. You didn't think to do that before.
I did think,
Okay.
but I didn't do it.
Okay, all right, you bastard. I know. I felt like this a few times where, like...
Did we get a package? I didn't order anything.
Possibly. I thought it was just something falling. But,
I hear something on the porch, I'm like, package!
I don't know if that was actually on the porch, though. Where, I don't expect you to do everything on your own. What's funny to me is I've thought about this too, is like, for me, I couldn't do half of what you've done with this stuff without losing my fucking mind.
Yeah, well, I'm having some, like, it's weird, because I think I might be bipolar, or at least I have some of the traits
I
of a
think we're both
bipolar where I get,
bipolar.
yeah, I get very excited and like I'm all energized and I can't sleep and I like
Mhm.
can only like focus on this one thing, and then I just crash and I can't focus on anything. So
Man.
while I'm functional, I'm trying to get as much done as possible.
Mm.
Like this is kind of the issue with trying to buy a home with two people who have, mental illnesses. They're not debilitating, but they are an obstacle.
Well, no. So what I want you to know is that, especially if we're both awake at the same time,
Yeah.
we can do this together. And if you have anything you want to assign me that I'm not aware of,
I
whatever,
would
I don't
love to
know.
assign you to find us an inspector because I don't want to do
Oh,
that.
okay. Pick this stuff up.
But also, I'll forward you the email of all the stuff we need just in case I missed something, which I don't think I did. I think I was pretty thorough. But then also you can see what I'm actually talking to her about.
I don't know if I could solely do the look all this stuff. That's what I'm saying is I would want your help as well. I'd want to work with you,
Okay.
not
You just said to assign you something, so I did.
well, I didn't. I meant to assist you with is what I meant. I didn't know you were like, well, here's one thing for you to just do all by yourself. But that's what I'm saying is,
We can do
anyways.
preliminary shit. Be like, I found these people. Who do and then we
Mm.
can go through it together, like we'll do with the
Well,
houses.
that's the thing too. That's I especially until like because we need to know the zip code and the actual area.
Yeah, and I don't.
I don't know how far as an inspector will drive to. I don't know like these things.
Well, you get somebody in the neighborhood.
Yeah, that's
You're
what
not
I'm
gonna
saying.
drive
So
from fucking
before we get an
Chicago.
inspector, we don't want to. Yeah, I don't want. I don't want to look up an inspector that's like
No, you look for
way out of the
inspectors
way
in
or whatever.
Peoria.
Okay,
Like
yeah.
you put in the zip code that you're looking for, or the city or whatever.
Which one was? Oh, that was her collab center home search. So you said you sent her more specific points, and then, so because I remember we talked about this a little, very briefly when you were on the phone with her.
Yeah.
And you said you wanted to ask like, well, what if I find a place on the internet that's not on your list or whatever? So that's what you had done with
Yeah.
with these, right? And then she added them to
Yeah,
the
because
thing.
all the listings she sent us were minimum 40,000, and I had seen some really cute ones for
Okay.
less than that. And one of the ones I really liked is already sold, and then or pending. It's pending. So that's okay. Whatever. The point is, that I think she put our range between $40,000 and $50,000, which was skipping out on these other houses.
Okay.
I don't want to ask her to go into a neighborhood she'd be uncomfortable going into to look at the house in person and do like a video tour. But I do want to see if there's parts of a neighborhood that she wouldn't mind going into. Like some of the houses that just don't have neighbors basically on like one side or the back side or both sides, whatever. So there might be places in 61605 that she wouldn't mind going to, and could figure out a safe way to get there, and then other places that she would not be comfortable going to, and then I wouldn't want to send her there because why would I want to live there if she wouldn't even be comfortable going there to look at it?
What I thought was cool when we were on the phone with her briefly, because I was mostly listening in while you were talking to her about the stuff. I thought it was cool that she was aware and was making sure, what was it, confirming with us that we would be purchasing before even going to the place.
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought that was cool though that she's on the ball on that, like knowing that look, we're relying on you to help us here because like we just can't do that, like and that's a big thing that's also hard for us is because like.
But that's why we got a realtor.
Yeah,
because if we were gonna be there, we could go look at the shit ourselves.
I'm just letting whoever our friend know that's listening that it's impossible for us to go and visit these places before we even we literally can't just go and visit potential homes and make sure that they're okay and stuff.
Yeah.
So anyways, the next one is, oh my goodness, computer so laggy. Scheduling showings and touring homes.
Oh, okay. So I didn't get to this one.
Yeah. So, and I think this one we'll check it out. We'll listen to it. We'll have a look. But this one probably will be avoiding. Well, I mean,
No. Because she still have to
Well,
schedule.
she'll do the virtual home tour thing, right?
She's not going to go virtually. She's going to go in person
What
and show us
I
the
mean,
home.
for us,
So
we won't be
she's
there.
she's going to have to schedule herself a time to go there.
Oh, okay. I think because like I
And
was assuming this meant
it'll
us.
have to work with us
Yeah.
because there's a schedule where she can go, and then it has to work with us.
Which is pretty much any time.
Yeah,
which
anytime
is
after
nice.
11. Yeah.
After, you mean I'm AM?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, even well, actually, yeah, that would be the best. But yeah, let me make sure this is still running.
Okay, and then there's only we're on video
We're on
9.
and there's 10
Excellent.
total. So
And it's a total of okay.
these last two are a bit long.
Okay, so we're
5
like
minutes and 6 minutes.
12 minutes and we're done.
Well, sort of, and depending on whatever we
Yeah.
talked about after as well. That's actually kind of why I wanted to have our little chat before we got into the videos, to have something a little, whatever, with everything related, and kind of talk about stuff and whatever. This has been cool though. I like it. I like the I love the, like, that I understand what she's saying.
Yeah, I think maybe the fact that it's not 3 in the morning and I'm watching this on my phone is helping me like follow her a little bit better. Because that's what time it was when I was watching these initially.
Well, I mean, that's what I like. I mean, there's so many things involved with this stuff. Where if you were just looking at documentation, in most cases, like, you can't even read it. It's like government,
Yeah, but the good thing is that like a lot of this stuff is what you would expect from buying a house, and then some of like very little, like maybe 20% of it is surprising or we
Probably
didn't
even
know.
less. Probably
Yeah.
a little bit less than 20%.
Yeah.
10 to 15% of it or something.
But it's good to know that that it's fairly intuitive. You do need somebody to guide you through it, but it's not.
I wouldn't want to do it alone.
It's not like moving to a different planet.
I think depending on how this goes, the next time we would be much more
comfortable.
Yeah. Like right now, I don't want to. I don't care
Yeah.
what I understand. I need your help. Help me. Especially with the whole, we can't go and tour the fucking place personally. We just can't. All right. So this one, scheduling showings and touring homes.
Okay, buyer tip number 9. This is house tours etiquette, and we'll keep this brief, but I want to run through a few things that you need to know when we're going out on home tours. So, number 1, open houses. Feel free to go to open houses when you're working with me. That's just fine, but do let the agent know when you walk in the door, hey, I'm working with Jessica Ball. She's my realtor. So that is fine with that. Next thing, when we're going to go on house tours, a few things that we need to do. 1, when there's going to be other people involved in the decision-making process, like I said earlier in a tip, parents, adult children in general, although there's a caveat to that one right now, and aunts or friends or things like that, if they are very involved in the process, then they need to be with us from start to finish on these house tours, so that they're seeing everything in the market that's available to you, because what we don't want to do is go with you, you find a house, then bring them in to see it. 1, you may not have that time before that house is off the market again, with pending with someone else's offer, but then also you don't want them coming in and only seeing that one house, and they don't have that frame of reference or perspective of seeing all the other houses that are available to you too. So it gives them a better appreciation for what we're looking at as well. And it may have been a while since they've been looking at houses, and so the process may be different. So having them involved from the get-go is good. Now, the caveat to that is right now, because of COVID-19 that we're in, and when I'm filming this, is that we have to limit the number of people that are in the houses. So if it is someone that does not have to be there, actually children right now, they're really trying to limit children coming to showings, and so if you can get a sitter for your kids, it's not appropriate to just bring people along, bring friends along. If they are not a stakeholder in the decision, it's not appropriate to bring them. So there's that caveat as well. Next thing is we'll need to wear masks right now, and if you want to wear gloves, that's always appreciated too. I know some sellers sometimes leave those out for us to wear. We also will be using hand sanitizer. I bring hand sanitizer to every showing, so we'll be doing that going into a property to protect the seller, and then once we leave a property to protect ourselves. Because we assume that people are cleaning, but we just don't know, and we want to make sure we're taking that extra precaution. Also, be expected to move your shoes or put on booties. So that means if you want to remove your shoes, having shoes that you can take on and off easily, but then also shoes that are appropriate for walking around a yard. high heels and things like that might be difficult, particularly if we're going to be looking at something with land or a large lot or something. So wear things that are appropriate, easy to slip on and off, and then also that you may be expected to wear some booties as well to help protect the floors, because it could be the floors of your new home. So we want to keep them clean and nice. Also with etiquette for home tours is going to be bathrooms. My personal stance is it is highly inappropriate to use a restroom at a house that we're doing a home tour on. I know emergencies happen, okay? So that is understandable. However, we can certainly plan for times to go somewhere else, a store, gas station, make a break during our house tour time frame to use the restroom and do those things, because particularly during COVID, people just are very leery about touching other people touching their stuff and in the homes, and then also people going through homes also may not want to be touching things with everything going on. So we want to limit that, but then also, even if it's vacant, it's still someone else's property. It's not a public restroom. We don't know whether the water's on, whether it's working properly. That's for a home inspector to figure out. Because what you don't want to do is flush that toilet and, one, it not flush, or two, the water wasn't turned on, or maybe the water doesn't turn off after we leave, so that the plumbing's still running, and therefore the seller gets a really large bill because there's water running while they're not at the house. So again, just problems can arise from that. We want to avoid that with our house tour etiquette. Also, we should assume that at all times we're under surveillance. So be careful when we walk into a house what we say or do. We don't want to say like, oh my gosh, I love this house, I'm going to offer $100,000, but I'd be willing to go up to 110. Well, if the seller is listening to that, you know it's going to happen there when they counter. So just don't give up your negotiating power there. And then also just be cognizant of the fact that this is someone else's property, and we don't need to be rifling through things. That would be highly inappropriate. And then also, be careful with comments that could be seen as hurtful, because if a seller is listening to them and someone's raving about that choice of furniture, or that wallpaper is so disgusting, it may, if you end up wanting to like that property, that may hurt your chances with that seller, because maybe that was something near and dear to them. So all just things to keep in consideration when we're touring properties.
I love that.
Yeah.
Very interesting and great points.
Mm-hmm.
And what's funny about that is none of them will be for us.
Well, not
at the moment.
necessarily. Yeah, because if she's at a house tour and the owner is there,
And if we are on voice call with her, or
yeah, we
whatever,
do have to be careful about what we say. But
well, we would never be
But a
offering
lot,
more
like-
than we can pay.
yeah, a lot of the COVID stuff doesn't apply to us.
Yeah.
Partly because we're vaccinated, and partly because we're
not
not
gonna
going
be
to physically be there.
Yeah.
But that is interesting to know that that's what
Mhm,
she'll be doing.
mhm.
And I like that she's taking those precautions,
Yeah.
because it means that so one of the things that drives Robin nuts, because she travels more than we do,
Mhm.
is going to certain places and nobody's wearing a mask,
Mhm.
and nobody's,
Mhm.
being careful,
Yeah.
basically. So I like that she's taking these precautions. It tells me that.
And not just that,
Yeah.
but is letting you know this is exactly what we're doing because of this. Like,
yeah,
that's
And
great.
it's like, it doesn't matter what your feelings about COVID are.
Yeah.
This is what we're doing when we
Yeah.
go look at a house. I like that a lot.
My favorite part of that whole thing, was the be ready to use a restroom in a restaurant or a gas station. Don't use the bathroom in the house.
That was interesting.
That was good. That was a
it-
great point.
Not something that would have occurred to me. I was
Yeah.
like, it's a house with a bathroom. I can
You know,
use it.
it wouldn't occur to me while like shopping online,
Mhm.
but I would think about that before we went there. Be like, wait a second, can we use their bathroom or their sink, or
It wouldn't occur to me that I wouldn't be able to,
Yeah.
but I think during regular times it wouldn't be that big a deal.
No, I
But
don't
during
think so.
COVID,
No,
yeah.
I don't think that's just COVID. Like she said,
I mean,
there
just
could be
in terms of
plumbing
etiquette, if I
issues.
was selling a house, I don't think I'd appreciate it if they used the bathroom. But I also don't think I would care that much either.
Well, yeah, but no, again, if you don't know, there could be plumbing issues that
Yeah.
have not been taken
Well,
care of.
I mean, like, you ask, obviously, the person before you
Yeah,
do it.
yeah.
Like, if they're there to ask.
Yeah. No, that was some really interesting stuff.
Yeah.
So this is the final video. Let's see. This is an interesting one. It seemed pretty big. This is probably why it's the longest one.
It's 5 tips for buyers making
Eight-
offers.
8
Oh, is it 8?
tips.
See, I'm nearsighted.
Let me read it. I'll read it.
Okay.
You're squinting and shit.
By the way, if we sound different, if we switched places.
Oh, we switched seats. I forgot. So we've been here recording for a little while. I think nearly 2 hours at the moment.
Oh my god.
Which is fine. That's fine. I thought about this the other day. I was like, you know what? Screw limiting it ourselves too, because
Yeah.
then it's just gonna make it less natural the way we talk if we're worried about
Yeah.
how long our thing is gonna be. So fuck it, man. You know. And anyways, so we switched spots because I'd forgotten about this. I forgot that depending on how long you sit on the bed, just here without a back thing and
support,
whatever
yeah.
you get uncomfortable when you sit that long, whatever.
Yeah.
So, and I had noticed you were getting a little fidgety and like uncomfortable, and I was like, because I wasn't thinking about it, so I was like, oh, here, do you want to switch seats or whatever? So yeah, if the audio is a little different, it's because we're in different spots.
Yeah.
So this one is 8 tips for buyers making offers in multiple offer situations, making offers in a hot market. So interesting. I don't think this will really.
No, I think
affect us.
a lot of the houses that we've been looking at have been there for at least a month.
At least a month, if not 2.
Sometimes 2 or
Yeah.
even more. So
I
that's
think most of them were there up for a month already, and I remember seeing a few for 2 months.
some of the ones that are less than that are already pending.
Yeah.
Houses, the best houses tend to be snapped up pretty quickly.
But we might find some interesting tips and whatever. So we'll finish this because this is stuff that we may end up wanting to know
Yeah.
at some point, even through our current shopping and whatever.
Yeah.
So
Or if you're listening and you're in the
Yeah.
process of thinking about buying a house.
I thought the same thing.
Yeah.
I thought that's kind of why I wanted to do this all and talk it out as well.
Yeah.
Because, like I said in the beginning, we've never done this before, and we're we don't know what the hell we're doing. So
Yeah.
so it is a little scary.
Yeah.
Just a little bit. I'm more excited than I am scared. But there is
It is
a lot
intimidating.
Yeah.
Like once the euphoria of, oh, we can do this, whereas I was like, oh, but here are all the things that can go wrong after you buy a house.
Or not just after you buy a house, but during.
And for me, the scariest part is because, like, in California, no matter what the weather is, we're not going to freeze or die, basically.
Well, I hate the fucking heat here. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh, so
I
much.
hate it too. But even in the hottest summer, if we don't have air conditioning, you do things to
I
stay cool.
fainted. You remember?
Yes. What I'm saying is, we're
Could
probably
die.
not going to
Could
die
die.
from the weather here.
Could die from hot heat.
Oh my god.
You could. It's possible.
But
Oh, that's
if
funny.
there it snows, there's nothing to protect yourself from that if your heater goes out. And you can't afford to buy a new one.
Except
or
blankets,
whatever.
you mean? Blankets and thermo clothes.
Can you fuck off, please?
I'm just
Devil's advocate.
No,
Jesus Christ.
I'm
To me, it's one of the things that makes me nervous. Is I'm not used to living in that kind of extreme
no,
weather.
that I get, but there are counters, like I said. Was it thermo or thermal? Thermo, right?
Thermal.
Is it thermal?
We say thermo, but it's spelled thermal.
Because they're kind of like pajamas. Remember we used to go up in the mountains and for the snow, and
Mom be like, "Put on your thermals," and then I'd be like, "I'm too cool."
He
for
would say
thermals.
thermals.
And then,
That's why I thought they were thermals.
Yeah, we say thermos. Yeah.
Okay. So thermals. Okay, I thought so. I always
Yeah.
thought but yeah, so there's that. There's extra jacket stuff, whatever. I'm just saying. No, I'm not saying I want to go without a heater.
Yeah.
I mean, our AC here barely does anything at all. If it's 110 degrees out, it's 100 in here.
Yeah, and
know?
the nice thing there is that even though it gets really, 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 really humid, which we don't really get here.
Yeah.
Which humidity is very
It's
uncomfortable.
horrible. Yeah.
But the actual temperature is like 78. So like here, it's just like so scorching hot you can't move.
I literally sweat in my chair just sitting there.
Yeah.
Just sitting there. I'll start fucking pouring sweat.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. That's why I bought that air conditioner.
The swamp cooler.
Yeah. Which is not going to do us a lot of good in humidity, but whatever. That's why the houses I'm looking at all have central air and heat.
Yeah.
That's very important to me.
No, I know. I'm. That makes sense. I don't disagree with you on that. I've thought like, well, if we find a really incredible freaking place, maybe we could just go without it.
No. Plus, also the nice thing is that there are so many places that have it.
Yeah.
So there's no reason for us to go.
I think I've only seen one
without.
out of like 30 that I looked at that didn't have it.
There have been several, but yeah, it's It's something that I'm looking at every single house.
Yeah.
Because
I started looking too when I saw you looking where it was.
That's my only deal breaker.
It was sucked because there was one I saw and I was like, fuck.
Yeah. And then the other thing I'm thinking about is if the closing costs and the earnest money and all that stuff and the inspection and all those costs, if they're going to be added on, then definitely we need the place to have appliances, because that's one expense that we don't need to have when we move in. Yeah. Although I will say this, we don't really use our stove.
We would just need a microwave for the most part.
So we'd take our microwave and we can take our fridge too, because we own that. Although the fridge is really old and I don't necessarily want to take it with us. So, but yeah, and then I would love like bonus a washer and dryer.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, but at least the hookups.
If not, that's what I was thinking. The one thing I still think is, like, if it doesn't have the washer and dryer or the hookups, which most of them have the hookups, but not, whatever. It makes sense that they're prepared for it, but they don't have it. If they're within a range to walk, like, we literally live 2 blocks away from a laundromat, and I think most of these places we've looked, they don't look like they would have something within 2 blocks or a block or whatever, because they're kind of...
Well, and the other thing is just I haven't gone to the laundromat.
They're kind of in the middle of nowhere.
Since, like, March of last year. So, if I'm not going to go, then it doesn't matter if there's one 2 blocks away or not. We need to be able to wash our clothes in our house. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, well... If we can't, and what I'm saying is at the time of arrival, for a couple months or whatever, because we have to get settled, and we don't have one right then. If there was somewhere place that we
I have the portable one that we have.
Oh, that's true.
If it's gonna be in summer, then it'll be fine. No, I've gotten better at it. Like these clothes I did in the portable washer, and they're good. Okay. They're soft and they're I can redo the other ones.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm just saying, I don't mean we'll never have it. I just mean as on a day one, it's possible we're going to have to wait on that.
Yeah, but like extra bonus if they already have it.
Oh gosh, please. Yes.
And a lot of them do. Like, that's the nice thing too, is a lot of them do. All right.
I think I would say half of them, right?
Yeah, okay,
I know most of them have the hookups or whatever. Okay, this one, 8 tips for buyers making offers multiple. This is a weird one, and we'll see how this goes.
Yeah.
Hi guys, it's Justin with the Jessica Ball team at Remax Traders Unlimited, and today I wanted to talk with you a little bit about making offers in a hot market and tips for buyers who are making offers when you are in a multiple offer situation. We've got a great web resource for you that I will share in the video notes. But recently, we've had several buyers who have not won the contract when they've submitted offers in a multiple listing situation. We've also had buyers who do win when they submit offers in a multiple contract situation or multiple offer situation. And so today, a few of the things that we want to do is share with you what you can do to be prepared to make a great offer in a multiple offer situation. The best thing that you can do as a potential buyer looking for your dream home is to be prepared to make an offer very quickly once a home hits the market by doing your research, knowing the terminology, knowing what to expect, and working with your local trusted realtors at the Jessica Ball team. We've got a great series on YouTube called The Home Zone, Buyer Tips for Getting the Home That You Want. This video series will help you understand terms like earnest money, all the various terms for contracts, contingencies, and inspections, and I'll drop that in the show notes as well. But our 8 strategies for buyers in a multiple offer situation to have a better chance of getting your offer accepted are, number 1, if sellers are still living in the home that you are making an offer on, suggest a closing date that reasonably allows for the sellers to pack up their belongings and to move out of their homes. You want to be reasonable with the seller. People literally can't pack up and move overnight. Oftentimes it takes a couple weeks to make those arrangements if someone is still living at home, or to find the next place that they are going to live. The second is to consider removing contingencies from your contract. So while some contingencies with your finance may be necessary, such as selling your current home before you have the financial capacity to borrow on your next home, this isn't the case for every seller. So if you can work with your lender to get a finance offer that is not contingent upon selling your current home or another home, that's a great benefit to the seller as they review and consider your offer. The third item is to consider what inspections you want as you write up your offer, and to keep things simple. This is not saying that you should not do inspections, but you should evaluate which inspections are available to you and which ones you want to include as a part of your offer. And Jessica Ball and our realtors would be happy to walk you through all the types of inspections that are available to you and what you may need or want to request. Item number 4 is to offer an increased amount of earnest money beyond just the typical 1% or whatever the average is or the amount that is requested in there. A greater amount of earnest money is going to show and give a signal to sellers that you are financially qualified, and your earnest money goes towards your down payment at closing. So by putting an increased amount of money out there, it's not a lost or sunk expense. It goes towards your closing, and it can really help your offer to stand out. Number 5 is to include verification of your funds to purchase the home. Now, not everyone is a cash buyer where you can include a cash statement or a bank statement showing that cash, but you can go beyond just getting a pre-approval letter. If you're really serious and know you are out there to buy a home, you can actually go through the underwriting and approval process so that when you find the right home, those sellers know with your offer that you're not just pre-approved, that you are approved for the kind of financial commitment that you are offering in the contract. Number 6, oftentimes buyers are asking sellers to pay a part of closing costs. This is really just reducing the price that you are offering in the sales contract. And so
Real quick, did you notice that right there? To let the seller know that you're not just pre-approved, but approved.
Yeah. So that's a good tip. I wasn't aware of that.
Because I didn't even know what it meant exactly. Remember,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think either one of us knew exactly what that meant, just that we knew that we could go up to 50K.
Yeah. So it's good. There's
so
an extra.
we're pre-approved, but we're not approved.
Right. There's an extra step if we want to have the homeowner feel safe with.
So I wonder what the step is between pre.
I think that's something that Amanda can help us with. Like it's good to know.
Maybe it's once we decide, then we have to go through that or whatever.
But it's
Okay.
That's a good tip, but it's not like something we have to worry about right this second.
I'm not worried. It was just I was like, oh wait, what?
Yeah. I also like the tip about like just if they're living in the house, just give them a chance to move out. Like
well, I thought that was already like insinuated.
Well, a lot of times they're not living in the house. So you don't have to worry. You could move in tomorrow.
Okay. I didn't think of that because I was like, well, duh.
Yeah, but it's one of those things that you don't think about, but like, yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, no, it's something it's a reminder in a way, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So we'll continue. We have a couple more minutes.
Consider whether or not you want or need the seller to pay part of the closing costs. If you can avoid that, it gives you better opportunity of winning that purchase. Be prepared to make your best offer initially is number 7. When you have a multiple offer situation, you are competing with other people, and so this is not a time to start low and build your way back up, but to make a reasonable, good offer and your best offer if this is a home that you truly want. Number 8 in our final tip is to respond quickly and comply with dates and deadlines. This seems relatively easy, but this can be a challenge sometimes. And so Jessica and Amanda will work with you on being really well prepared to know what you need to sign and when you need to sign, but you can be very prompt in using our e-sign programs to sign your documents and get them returned. It can be really challenging when we're waiting on signatures and we need a couple days to get this signature or to do X, Y, or Z. We've got great technology and great safe tools to help us digitally sign documents. You can also be prompt about responding to phone calls and text messages, especially as we get into that multiple offer situation, so that we can discuss all of the items that may be involved with your offer. And this is a way to speed up the process of getting an offer accepted and a contract signed so that we are not delaying the process at all for a seller. So if you are a person who is serious about buying a home, especially during a time right now when many homes in our Peoria market are only on the market for a number of hours or a very few days, if you're serious about being ready to buy a home, contact the Jessica Ball team at RE/MAX Traders Unlimited. You can reach our team by calling or texting 309-863-5045 or email us at jessicaball@remax.net, and consider using the resources on our website and our YouTube channel to make sure that you are a well-prepared
wasn't sure if you had anything more to say. I was like, crap, he had said something towards the end there. Oh, what the hell was it?
Oh, he said to not ask them to do the closing costs, if possible, and then also to put your best offer in.
Well, yeah, no, that part. Well, I didn't notice the closing cost part, but
Your offer, and then this is a way to speed up the process of
oh, okay, no, it wasn't important. I just thought it was funny because he talked about how easy it was to do digital signatures and whatever, and did not work out so well for us on our first.
Oh, well, you know why? Because we just weren't using the right program.
Yeah, well, because we don't have those programs aren't free. I don't think.
No, we'd have to pay for it. But also, the other thing is like that. Their system should have been set up so that you could digitally sign online. Like if you're doing your taxes, you can digitally sign online.
Yeah.
Like if you're like when I'm doing my U online, my EDD,
Mm-hmm.
I sign online.
Yeah.
So I would imagine that things are set up more, like especially looking at her collaboration center,
Mm-hmm.
like she's obviously like more up on technology, and then the fact that these videos were just put out in March of this year, which
This
last
was the
month.
newest one. Yeah, this is everything else. It ranged from the end of last year, like August last year, up
Okay.
until now. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So these are,
That's why they talk about COVID too.
yes.
They're very new.
So these are pretty up to date. So I like that about them. They're on top of it. So probably a digital signature would be fine.
Well, no, I just thought it was funny. It wasn't a big deal. Like we just we tried to sign those things and it didn't work out very well. So
It was
we had
the
to print
apartment-
them out and then
The apartment
sign them.
application. Yeah, but yeah. I've same thing I was trying to figure out why it didn't work for me when it had worked for me before, like adding a digital signature. I think it was, I don't know. I
Might
wasn't
have been
paying
the
much
specific
attention.
document. or
Oh, but I
something.
think there's you know what? It was an add-on that I had used last time
Oh.
that I didn't use this time.
There were, like I've been through that with my work as well. Like there's certain documents that you have to sign, and I mean, the entire team, everybody. This would happen like last year, mid some point. They had to sign documents, and it was supposed to be that you could do it digitally, and nobody could get it to work. So they had to they had to do like some other way to do it. They tried using third-party websites that were supposed to be able to let you do a digital signature, and that didn't work either.
That is hilarious.
Yeah, it was a mess. So, anyways, yeah. So some of those were actually cool tips. Some of them were.
The last video was a little boring, but
Oh,
that's
the
mostly
guy, dude,
because, well, no, I think it's mostly because it was brand new. Like it was information that most of it we had heard before because we watched the other videos.
That too.
first.
Yeah, it was kind of a summary, I guess, or whatever, along with the a few new things or
Yeah,
whatever.
there's a couple of tips in there
Yeah.
that I liked. I like that you're not supposed to ask for closing costs, although I think depending on
We will.
Yeah, I think we definitely will. Like, because we can up the offer and add
Like,
the closing costs.
look.
Yeah.
I understand that.
Yeah,
but
I'd prefer not to pay closing costs up front just because
Yeah.
we still need to
we
move
need to be
there
able to
and live
afford to
there.
actually move.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and live there for a few months while I'm finding
So
a job.
it's a good tip. It sounds like
Yeah.
a good tip. It makes sense. But
Yeah. Plus, like-
it's not practical for us at all. Like,
Yeah.
shit, man.
Plus, like getting set up for water, I think
Yeah.
there's an initial fee, electricity,
Mhm.
cable,
Everything.
Wi-Fi, all that shit. So,
Yeah.
so that's all stuff that we have to.
We
take
already
into
have enough
consideration.
normal like starting costs
Yeah.
when we move. So yeah.
Yeah.
Please
But
cover
also,
closing costs.
I think one of the
I'm
things,
willing to pay them over time for them to cover it immediately. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Yeah.
But this is like again, he's talking about a hot market, and
Yeah,
a lot of the houses that we're looking at
It's not a hot market,
aren't.
even though they're amazing.
Yeah, they're amazing to us.
Right?
Yeah, so we're very poor.
Amazing to us poor people.
All right.
It's so funny because every time we say that, like we live in a very nice neighborhood. Like this city, like
Yeah.
it's really pretty here.
Yeah,
It's really nice. So it's so weird because, but again, that's why we struggle with barely being able to pay our bills.
yeah.
You
But
know,
we'd be able to like the houses we're looking at are nicer than the one we're looking at now. I mean, the one that we
Yeah,
live in now.
yeah,
So and they cost so much less. Like
way less.
that's why I'm saying it's nice for us.
Mm.
Like try somebody I
mean,
was I was
Go ahead.
I was reading online. Somebody was talking about because after she said the thing about 61605 not being a great neighborhood, I googled it, and one of the commenters said something like people will try to get you to live in a box in a nice zip code instead of just living in a
Which is
like
exactly what
yeah.
we live in.
Yeah, so
That's exactly what our place is.
so I'm not really worried about that. But let's wrap up because this has been going on long enough, and I'm still uncomfortable.
You're still uncomfortable. Oh my goodness. It's not, well, that chair is pretty shitty. You notice how shitty that chair is. I can't believe it's still sittable. I was gonna say something too. Damn it! Part of all that was funny. Oh well. All right. Yeah. Well, we're done. So it's
Okay.
not like we're gonna have to sing it out or anything. Cause
Thanks for listening to the Poor Rice.
you didn't start with a song.
Jeremy hates the
I
outro
don't hate the
song. But thank you for listening to us try to buy a house. Hopefully this information will be interesting or helpful to you at some point in your life.
What a song.
Thank you for joining the Poor Rikes. Da, 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 da. Poor.